Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of 3 Point Weekly. A lot has happened since we last talked. We're partway through the first round. We've gone from Paul George being ruled out of a play-in tournament game that would seal their spot into the playoffs via health and safety protocols, which in turn turned CJ McCollum into absolutely balling out and getting the Pelicans in. Golden State have shown that they have potentially the best lineup in basketball. The Raptors are making 76ers fans sweat after going up 3-0. And as we'll have Tyrik talk about right off the rip here, the Boston Celtics have swept the Brooklyn Nets, sending home what some people are calling potentially the most talented duo of all time, home in 4 games in the first round. So I'll
Hey,
get it started
Tyrik,
with Tyrik.
talk your shit, bro.
It definitely feels good because going into that series, I definitely thought it'd be a lot more competitive. And we were talking before we even hit record, like it was still a pretty competitive 4-game series. Like really, a lot of those games could have went either way. I think the Celtics, once they got to Brooklyn, they were pretty much in control of both of those games. But the first 2 games in Boston, they were both up in the air. The Celtics were just a little more talented, a little more deeper, and they were able to get timely stops. The Nets weren't. I think we're watching Jason Tatum turn into a true superstar. Even on his off shooting nights, he's still finding ways to affect the game, which you love to see. And the Celtics, they look dangerous, man. A potential second-round matchup between them and the Bucks looks super compelling, man. That's going to be a heck of a series if that is the one that happens, of course, which we're assuming it is. But there's a lot to take away, man. I don't think anybody, especially between us three, expected the Nets to get swept, even though we weren't really considering them like real championship contenders. I think Gabe might have said they were contenders, but I know I said, like, I don't think that this is their year, but I still did not expect them to get a 4-game sweep. So what was y'all's reaction after, it went final last night that they did get swept?
I mean, honestly, at the time, like, as soon as Boston went up 3-0, I was just like, okay, GG. Like, Brooklyn didn't really strike me as that kind of team that would really dig in and come back from that deficit. Like, I don't know. I think the point they were at with, like, okay, Ben is not coming back, and then rookie head coach, all these different things, which they got on the other side with a rookie head coach, but clearly that man is showing he's on a different level right now. But with Nash and then just their whole situation, the lack of chemistry built over the season due to all the factors, I think they just kind of phoned it in. The score of the game 4 was like close, but it was low key not that close. Like Brooklyn made it look decent at the end, but I feel like anybody watching the game knew they were out of it.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, regardless of what you want to talk about KD struggles, regardless of how you feel about Kyrie having a couple of off games, Brooklyn just don't have the pieces around KD and Kyrie that was going to make this competitive of a series past the point, like you said, Gabe, from Boston winning game 3. They don't have the wing depth. When you look at the wings on this team currently, it's like Bruce Brown, KD, and then like Kessler Edwards. So you don't exactly have any wing depth, never mind any wing size or wing defense outside of Bruce Brown.
Yeah,
When you're
that's
dealing
Bruce
with a
Brown
Boston
and
team
then
that has a
KD.
lot of size and a lot of defensive intensity, they're going to tire guys out like KD, which is going to make KD a worse defender, and it's going to make the wings of Boston be able to absolutely dominate on offense, which is exactly what happened. Jason Tatum, as you mentioned, Tyrik had a great series. Al Horford proved how valuable he can still be, even at his age. Jaylen Brown had a good series. Marcus Smart is playing some of the best basketball he's ever played on offense and on defense. He's playmaking very well. He's not just chucking shots as he has in the past. He's taking smart shots and being quite efficient. Things are clicking for this Boston team right now. Brooklyn, they've got some things to figure out from a roster standpoint this summer. Bruce Brown is going to be a free agent. If they lose him, Lord knows who their wings are next year, even with someone like Joe Harris coming back from injury. It's going to be interesting if Brooklyn are even considered a top-tier team next year. Even with KD and Kyrie back, they're going to need more pieces around those 2 stars for sure.
Yeah.
A note about sorry, I'll let you go. Sorry.
No, you can go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna say a note about Tatum. He low key evolved kind of like in a very unique way. I feel like kind of a lot of times you see a player comes in and it's like they got the defense and then the defense needs to catch up to the offense.
Yeah.
But like Tatum has been a bucket for a couple years now, but then like now, like the defense that he's been playing lately, I don't know like what they did this off season or during like the winter to get to this point, but like this is not normal.
Yeah.
The only like in recent history, the only other person, it's almost like think of the opposite of Kawhi. Like he really did the opposite evolution of Kawhi.
No, facts. I got to give a shout out to Devin because I remember his Celtics video. He said he thought Jason Tatum was either like the first or second best defender on this team, like perimeter wise. And when I heard that, I'm like, interesting. But now, yeah, I see it. Like the way he was guarding KD, and it wasn't just Tatum; it was a very good team effort. The game plan by Ime was excellent. Like that's the best we've ever seen KD and Kyrie Irving be defended, especially those two together. We have not seen them be defended like that. The game plan was great, but Jason Tatum was really locking up KD. He was making KD work just to get the ball. It was an amazing scheme, and his effort defensively. That's why I said like he's starting to really put everything together and becoming like an all-around superstar type player. Because you even look at like games earlier this season, he would have the very inefficient games where he would shoot like 28, 30 shots. Might get his 30 points, but it'd be very inefficient. And he's, having just as many turnovers as assists, and his defense was in there. Well, ever since the shift in this team, he's been locked in. His playmaking has been a lot better. His defense has been up to par. And he just looked like one of the best, like, you can argue like 5 players in the league over the last few months. And he was the best player on the floor in the series that featured 2 NBA champions on the other side. And he was the best player. So that's super impressive on his part.
What I think really like cemented his evolution was like just that game 1 finish. You see star players all the time. They'll dribble a couple times. They'll like pull up for a shot, hit a game winner. He hit that off the ball, in sync with your teammate, like just perfect cut, reading the situation perfectly. That's like, to me, even though it was a layup to win the game, that was a more impressive play to me than somebody pulling up for a contested 3 to call game. Just because of like the IQ that goes behind it, that just shows like your game awareness and everything is just so high. And in playoffs, I mean, that's important. I remember I asked you guys, I think one of our earliest episodes, I was like, how good do you guys think Jason Tatum can be? And like, he's low-key proving this dude is going to be like an MVP level player. If he plays like he played in this series for a full regular season.
Facts. And yeah, to go back to that game 1 finish, I think that not only shows his evolution as a player, but you also look at Jaylen Brown, who had the ball at that possession. He could have threw up a dumb shot, but he didn't. Marcus Smart, like Devin said, like last year, he would have taken that shot. He probably would have taken that shot early on in the season, but he didn't. He was patient. He was able to find Jason Tatum for the layup. Like this, I don't know if y'all have ever just been on a team where everything is clicking and it seems easy. That's what this team looks like right now, and that's what they've looked like since the beginning of January. Just everything is, everything's played the right way. Their defense, everybody's not missing a rotation. The ball is moving. It's not sticking. And guys are playing at their highest levels. Like Grant Williams is playing at his highest level. Peyton Pritchard can come off the bench in the 4th quarter and put up 8 points, outscoring KD and Kyrie. Like, that's just how well this team is clicking right now. And it's, obviously as a Celtics fan, it's fun to watch. But I just think as a fan of basketball, you can't help but marvel at this style of ball that they are playing right now.
These were like opposite teams. You got like the tween, like ISO heavy team, but then you got the team that just plays the right way pretty much. Ball movement, that classic Spursian basketball, and now wins.
Yeah, like you said, Tyrik, like it just seems like a team where everything's clicking and they've all bought in and they all trust in each other. And I think that is seen by that game 1 winner as well. Like no one forced up a shot. No one needed to be the hero. They just trusted in each other and got the best basket. And it's shown on offense and it's shown on defense. They all just believe in each other. They know this is a good group. They know this is a team that can compete and beat anybody on any given night. And they've been playing that way, and the results have been putting out. I think the run they've been on has been absolutely absurd. They've been the best team in basketball, other than maybe the Suns over the last 4 months. And honestly, like there's no series that they can go into now where you can say, yeah, Boston don't have a chance. Like even with Robert Williams still recovering from injury and not playing significant minutes, and he's back game 3 and game 4, but he's only playing about 15 minutes a night. Even without him, this team still has a chance to go in and beat anyone in a 7-game series.
Exactly. Say what you want about Daniel Tice, but he was pretty good. Especially the first 2 games, he was playing really good basketball. It was pretty impressive with how he was playing, man. It's just like next man up mentality, and everybody's still playing well, which you love to see. But on the Nets side of things, I think that's more so the big story is like they really got swept, and I think a lot went into it. Obviously, KD was not KD. You can argue even his game last night. He did have 39 points, but it was very inefficient. Just not the KD that we're used to. Kyrie outside of game 1 wasn't really that great. Really wasn't good, to say the least. And you mentioned the personnel that they had. They obviously don't have like the wing depth that you would like, especially going up against a Celtic team like this. But on Steve Nash's part, man, you can't expect to have a real chance in this series when you go extended minutes with Goran Dragic guarding Jaylen Brown, or Seth Curry guarding Jaylen Brown, or Patty Mills guarding Jaylen Brown. And then you also can't expect Nick Claxton to be the only big on the court and expect to really rebound the ball that well. You can't expect that to happen, man. I mean, this roster's not perfect at all. I mean, obviously Ben Simmons has a whole nother story, but it's not a perfect roster. But still, as a coach, you got to be able to look like, okay, it's not perfect, but we still got pieces. Like, hell, Blake Griffin came in after not playing in 3 weeks and gave them very good minutes. Why wasn't he playing a little earlier on in the series to maybe just help, at least like not have, Patty Mills and them guarding an elite wing player like Jaylen Brown? Like, Steve Nash, I'm surprised that KD and them still back him and they're expected to bring him back because, man, when you have a team like this that's obviously not perfect, and it's probably not going to be perfect when they make all their moves in the offseason, you need a coach that's going to be able to get the most out of their talent. And I just don't think Steve Nash is the guy, man. I don't think he's the guy. He got severely outcoached this series, and which is kind of sad because at least he has a year of playoff experience as a head coach. Ime, this is his first series. You would expect him to maybe have a little, bit of butterflies, a little bit of a learning curve. Ime looked like he was a 10-year vet, like he's been coaching the NBA Finals for 10 straight years. The way he outcoached Steve Nash, man, I think that's just kind of absurd.
You guys think this is GG for like these assembled super teams? Like, you guys think this is about it? Because this like season, and honestly, like, most super teams that have been assembled have not lived up to expectations. And you see, like, the best teams, to me, there's 3 teams that look the best right now is Boston, Golden State, and Milwaukee. And none of those teams are assembled. Now, Golden State did a little bit to up themselves for a couple of years, but the people that are there now are all people that have pretty much always been there. And then, obviously, we've been talking about Boston and their whole thing. And then Milwaukee the same way. So it's like, I feel like around the league, you guys think people will say that or, like, see that and kind of shift their direction?
I don't think that type of super team is dead, but I think people saw super teams have success. They saw the Miami LeBron teams. They saw the Cleveland LeBron teams. They saw Golden State. And they saw, let's get a bunch of stars together and we can win.
Yeah.
But I think what a lot of people didn't realize or didn't appreciate from those teams is that there was some very important and very valuable role players in depth and significantly good benches on those teams. Brooklyn doesn't have that. That's not something they can rely on. There's several other teams that people might have had high expectations for, but haven't quite had the depth around them to succeed. And that's something that you have to take in part. Having guys like Andrew Bogut or Barbosa or Sean Livingston, Audrey Iguodala, those guys that aren't your stars on a team like Golden State is valuable. If you look at Cleveland, someone like Kyle Korver had times where he was significant. Guys like Matthew Dellavedova, who wasn't great after Cleveland, but was a good, hardworking defensive guy in the playoffs. Channing Frye, who would come in and give them some spacing off the bench. Those types of guys are important, and Brooklyn don't really have that. They have Bruce Brown, and then that's about it. And Joe Harris is injured right now. Seth Curry had a few games where he was fine. He didn't have his best series. Depth is important. You need those stars, certainly, But we're seeing now that you can't just have stars. You need depth, and you need other players in the team that can be good two-way players if you're going to have success while building a super team. Because stars by themselves without depth just isn't good enough in today's NBA.
I think we're seeing that also with Philly right now, which we'll definitely get to that series. But yeah, like you said, it seems like the constant theme with the teams that were able just to get stars to come together and win just by making trades and trading away all their first round picks are LeBron James teams. Like outside of that, can't really name too many teams that have, had success, won championships doing that. I can't even think of one really off the top of my head. The Warriors, they drafted well. All they really did to up the ante was sign KD, which it fell into their lap. Like they were able to do that. The Celtics have drafted really well, and they made the trades necessary. Same thing with the Milwaukee Bucks. The thing with the Nets, like you said, they lack a lot of depth, which obviously as a championship team, you need at least, 3 guys off your bench that you can really rely on, every given night to give you some minutes. They don't have that at all, especially with Ben Simmons not playing. It shortens their rotation even more. And, they were able to get away with it last year because James Harden was still elite. KD was playing at the top of his game. And Kyrie was having one of his best seasons too. So it's like they were able to get away with, hey, we don't really have a lot of depth. We are not a great defensive team, but we have 3 of the best scorers in the world. How are you going to stop us every single night? And they were able to get away with it until everybody's body started to fall apart. And then you're like, oh, they don't have the depth at all. Now we're relying on Joe Harris to, shoot 10 threes a game just to, keep us in these games, and he wasn't able to do that. So depth is just super important, and I think the Nets are starting to figure that out because this series they really ran into that because they're like, man, we're getting killed on the boards, and we don't have anybody to throw in there with, Tyson, Horford, or Rob Willett and Horford on the court. We don't have anybody to throw in there. Oh, my God, Seth Curry's having to guard Jaylen Brown for 30 minutes. We don't got anything to counter that. I mean, we can put Bruce Brown on them, but then who's going to guard Tatum? And then KD's too tired to guard Tatum. It's like Sean Marks is good at his job. He really is. I think it is Sean Marks. He's good at his job. He really is. But the deconstruction he's going to have to do because it's not a championship roster. Even if Ben Simmons comes back and is the Ben Simmons of 2 years ago, I mean, is that really going to save this team? I'm not 100% sure because there's more holes to this team than just we're missing Ben Simmons. There's a lot more than that.
Yeah, I think you can get away with 3 high-level players and then just some decent Bruce Brown level guys around them. If that's your 4th and beyond. But I feel like when you only have 2, then it's you really need one of those 2 to really be on their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And in this series, it's neither of them were. And then also you got to make sure both of those guys can uphold not only their production but stay on the court because that's the plight of all the super teams to me is seems like somebody always goes down and then they don't play together or somebody goes out in a crucial playoff series and that ends up being it for them.
Definitely. And you also see with other teams that have been able to have a lot of top end talent, they also have guys on their bench or just in rotation, guys that are willing to take less money to play there. And Devin mentioned Bruce Brown's up for free agency. There's no reason why a team would not offer him a good amount of money that the Nets can't afford because they have 3 pretty much max contracts lined up. Joe Harris is making $18 million a year. They got money tied up. So it's are they going to be able to bring Bruce Brown back? And he's their best role player. I mean, arguably he was probably their most consistent player this series, at least for the first few games. So it's they might not even have the money to bring him back. And I mean, they might be able to find some vets that are willing to go there, but they've done that the last couple of years with Blake, Aldridge, Paul Millsap. But at the end of the day, none of those guys were in their playoff rotation. So it's I don't know. Sean Marks has his work cut out for him in the offseason. I'll say that much. It's going to be an interesting one because if they don't get it done next year, man, we're going to look at this this was a complete, utter failure.
I mean, yeah, I think people are honestly overlooking the Joe Harris absence because they're not just bringing back one impact player. It's 2 impact players because even though Ben Simmons is obviously a much better player than Joe Harris, he's an all-star as opposed to a role player. But, Joe Harris can definitely, be somewhat of a needle mover. Not saying he, takes them from, swept in the first round of the finals, but I think he can definitely be that guy where it's that classic, it's game 7 and some random player steps up. It happens all the time. Last year it was Kevin Huerter.
I mean,
Joe Harris can be that guy for one game.
I thought that would be Joe Harris last year, but he could not buy a shot in the playoffs, bro. And then on defense, he ain't giving you anything. At least, I mean, I think I trust Kevin Huerter a little more defensively than Joe Harris. Joe Harris ain't give you anything on defense, man. But I mean, him coming back is a plus, but then it's like you got 18 mil tied into him to just be a shooter. And is he even the best shooter on the team? I don't know. Seth Curry might have that title. Honestly, I mean, it's maybe.
I mean,
but
I think if you're having the argument that Joe Harris isn't the best shooter on the team, I don't think it's even a knock on Joe Harris. I just think it means this team will have some really good spacing next year.
it's not, but I don't think that's the problem. I don't think shooting is their problem. I think it's more so quality depth players that can also bring you something on the defensive side of the floor. Because if one of your best defensive players is Kevin Durant, there's no slight on KD. He's a very good defender. Still some issues there because you don't want the burden. You see what happens if the burden of KD is, you know, you have to be able to be elite defensively too. He's going to get worn down. So hopefully Ben Simmons coming back helps that, which who knows if he's going to play basketball before Kendrick Nunn does. That's an interesting thing that we'll have to see. But, man, it's crazy. I thought this was going to be a 6-7 game series, and it ended up being a sweep, which is, I think for the NBA fan experience, it's a little unfortunate. For my experience, I love it. Hey, we get a little rest. We go on to the next round. But for the NBA fan experience, it's not the best thing in the world.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it was still like at least like 2 or 3 good games, and it's like the quality of the games definitely was not poor. Like at least it was made interesting in almost every game. Like the numbers, like 16-point differential in the game. Obviously, it wasn't that close as it looks, but like not terrible. It's just I wish we could have seen more of it because, I mean, those are some entertaining players, and it's like they were close games. But, like, people want to see KD and Kyrie do crazy things because they do crazy things and it's super entertaining. And it's so, like, when you can't see that for more time, it's just sad.
Thanks. But enough about the Celtics and the Nets. Because y'all's Raptors might be on the verge of making a little bit of history. I don't know. It's getting interesting, man.
Only Doc.
Only Doc Rivers could pull this off, bro. Like,
Only Doc.
This series has been a little crazy. First 2 games, y'all obviously had no chance. It was pretty much domination. If you're getting 38 from Tyrese Maxey, you're probably losing that game. No doubt about it. You're probably losing that game. And Joel Embiid the first 2 games. He was still there in game 3 too, which is why they went up 3-0. But since then, and since the thumb injury, they've looked normal. He's looked human. James Harden's still not on shit. And it's 3-2 now. It's 3-2, and y'all have controlled the last 2 games. So
Devin, you got to take this, bro.
Going into Game 6 in Toronto, how confident are y'all in forcing a Game 7?
I'm very confident about forcing a Game 7. Once we get there, we'll get there. But the defense has completely changed since Game 4. Embiid was getting such good post position Game 1 through Game 3 that he was just having such dominant games. There's no one on Toronto that can deal with Embiid once he's in the paint. We're just not big enough. We're not strong enough. That's the reality of it. But between Freddie being out and everything being switched on defense a little bit more easily so that Embiid never has a mismatch at all. Not that Van Fleet is a terrible post defender as a guard, but obviously he is significantly smaller than everyone else on this roster who's currently in the rotation. But primarily just the fact that everyone's fronting him. Everyone's making him get the ball out much further on the perimeter now when you're looking at someone like the likes of Precious Achiuwa, who played very well, especially in Game 5, Anunoby, Thaddeus Young. These guys are all putting in work early against Embiid. They're making him get the ball much further out on the perimeter where he's being forced to be much more of a playmaker than a dominant paint presence. And that's been very important and impactful in this series. Attacking Embiid defensively, or in terms of Embiid being on defense, and attacking Embiid has also been very important, potentially getting him in foul trouble or just tiring him out more. And Siakam has just played very well over the last couple of games. He's showed that he is that all-NBA caliber guy. Nick Nurse has made the right adjustments accordingly to the Philadelphia team that played very well through games 1 and 3. As you mentioned, Tyrik Maxey had absolutely brilliant performances. I believe I saw something on Twitter after game 1. It was either the second or third best offensive rating game by a team in an individual playoff game Philadelphia had in game 1. So it wasn't going to be replicated. There was no way they're going to be able to maintain that level of dominance for the entire series. But we're now at a point where this is a Philly team that has had post-playoff struggles, that has lost a series a couple of years ago to Toronto, who has a coach in Doc Rivers, who is infamous for blowing 3-1 leads, and who has James Harden, who has had poor playoff performances. There is a lot of things building up here that could certainly suggest that Philly feel the pressure a lot, especially after what Embiid said post-Game 5. It definitely seems as though they are not exactly at their utmost confidence, and the Raptors certainly seem to be at their utmost confidence. So heading back to Toronto, I think the Raptors have every bit of a chance to send this to 7 and have a chance to upset Philly.
Yo, and Precious Achuya is hooping. This dude is insane. That's been our biggest thing all season is number 1, depth, and number 2, big men. Mm-hmm. So you got a big man off the bench playing crazy. This is like a dream come true. Boucher was supposed to be the biggest backup, like the biggest backup big. Precious has been better than Chris Boucher. Like this is the Precious Achuya I expected when he got traded to our team. Seeing this man win Defensive Player of the Year on 2K every single simulation. Like, I don't know what has got into him. Playing against Joel Embiid. I know Joel is hurt, but like, this don't make no sense. And it's like, if this is really a thing, listen, I'm about to sound mad, but that's because Nick Nurse is a madman. If we somehow manage this comeback and it's like he really just wants to roll with Scotty at point guard, I've seen Nick Nurse trade an all-star before. Well, Nick Nurse was the assistant coach when the trade happened, but I've seen Masai trade an all-star before. So I'm just saying, this dude might be a madman. I do love Freddie, though. I hope that they keep Freddie on the team. But if they really want to give these keys to Scotty, because I swear, something gets into this team where they just flow free when they run these crazy lineups of like Scotty, Gary, OG, Pascal, and like an actual big guy.
I think Freddie still fits in. I just think this is a bad matchup for him, personally, because Embiid can really exploit if you have a small person on the court, which is just unfortunate for him. But, man, if it's anybody that will pull this off, it is Doc and the Philadelphia 76ers. Like, bro, I remember this was my first year really watching basketball. 2010, Boston Celtics, Orlando Magic in the conference finals. Celtics go up 3-0, and they almost were in the same predicament. Lost 2 straight games. They were able to close it back out at home in Boston. But this is a different situation, man. You don't got 4 Hall of Famers on your team. You don't got that. You don't have that. James Harden is not playing good, man. And I feel like this needs to happen for James Harden. I feel like he needs to really just be a shell of himself and realize, like, man, I can't be out partying and stuff in the offseason, coming into camp out of shape. I got to be on my stuff because I'm getting older now. I don't have the same first step that I used to have. He needs this, man. He's been terrible. I mean, his playmaking's still good, but we traded for you because, hey, we need an elite shot maker alongside Joel Embiid. And since the first, maybe week or so of him being in Philly, he has not been that. He's reverted back to the same James Harden that we saw early this season in Brooklyn. So a lot of this is on him. A lot of it is on Doc Rivers. And like we mentioned earlier, they don't have the depth that they used to have. Look, I'm a B-ball Paul stan. Paul Reed, I mess with him. No reason why he should be getting playoff minutes. I'm sorry. No reason why. Like, he should not be touching the floor in the postseason at all. Obviously, they have DeAndre Jordan on there, which is just a travesty of an acquisition. But this team, they are backs against the wall. I feel like there's more pressure on them than the Raptors right now. I feel like the Raptors, when they play like they have nothing to lose, one of the most fun teams to watch, and they can beat anybody on any given night. And I would almost put any amount of money that they're going to win this Game 6. And in Game 7, anything can happen. And we've seen Joel Embiid, James Harden not be the best in those high-pressure situations. So it's going to be compelling to see if this does go back to Philly for a Game 7. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have swept 3 straight first-round series together. Best duo in the league?
Well, I mean, they're in the same league as the most skilled duo of all time, so I don't know. Although they did just sweep them.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah, all I'll say about the Raptors and the 76ers is, bro, the Sixers gotta win, or they are never gonna hear the end of it.
Hey,
Literally, never going to hear the end of it. Like, the Warriors blew a 3-1 lead, title. Still heard about the 3-1 lead. Now, granted, context is important. They won the chips with KD, but just know, if the Sixers blow a 3-0 lead, guys, how many times has that been done before?
imagine being the
0.
first team that had that said about you.
They're never letting that down. Now, I guess, I don't know. Take it as you will. I don't think they will ever let that down.
Oh no, they would have to win a championship next season for anybody to even consider forgetting about this.
I think that's gonna change a lot of people's all-time discussions about James Harden. I'm not saying if it should or not.
Oh, it should. Look, y'all know me. Love James Harden. I was gonna wear the Houston Rockets shirt instead of the Celtics one today because I need my boy to start playing well. But look, if he wants to force his way out of situations, which maybe forcing his way out of Brooklyn was okay, a little understandable, but the way he does it, bro, you acting like you got 3 chips, 7 MVPs and stuff. You're acting very entitled, bro. We know you've been an amazing player, but when the moment gets big, James Harden folds, and I can't defend it anymore, bro, because it's getting worse and worse by the year, bro. So if he comes out and he puts up another stinker in Game 6, and if they actually blow this series, him and Doc Rivers, those two, never gonna hear the end of this. It's done. It's over. They will never hear the end of this, bro. James Harden got to show up. He has to show up, man. He cannot. He has to at least try to show up because I think Joel said something about his aggression being off, which is true, but maybe James Harden just ain't that guy anymore. Maybe he's not. Because dude was struggling to get by Malachi Flynn and Gary Trent. And I love me some Gary Trent, but this is James Harden we're talking about. You shouldn't be struggling to get by those guys, man. It's
Even if they win this series, bro, I feel like Miami is going to lay them down, bro. Listen, I know Miami's playing the Hawks right now. This is being recorded live as the Hawks are playing in Game 5.
Yep.
Yes.
These dudes are up 15 with their, first and I guess we'll say fourth best players not playing.
Yes.
Up 15 on the team that, once again, I know context is important. The team that beat the Sixers last year. And honestly, James Harden is not playing good enough to make me think that this year's Sixers are that much better than last year's Sixers.
And we're seeing right now what a good defense does to this Philly team. So if you now go into a situation where Miami have home court advantage against a Miami defense that probably has a better offense, at least for the playoffs, as far as having guys that can have playoff experience and can get you buckets down the stretch with the way Jimmy's currently playing, with the playoff experience that Tyler Hero has, with the playoff experience Kyle Lowry has. That is going to be a terrible matchup for them. Terrible matchup for them. And Victor Oladipo, he's had a bunch for a second half as we're recording this, but he's shooting 50% right now with 16 points. You get that out of him, this team is going to be dangerous.
All right, y'all. I got a little history lesson for everybody. In major American sports, Devin, I know you're Canadian, but I got some hockey on here for you.
Yes, sir.
There have been 5 successful 3-0 comebacks.
Sounds about right. Most of which I think are in hockey.
Yes, there have been 4 in hockey. We have the 1942 Stanley Cup Finals, which was the Maple Leafs. Shout out to Toronto. In the 75, this was the quarterfinals of the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Islanders pulled off a 3-0 comeback. They actually won 8 games facing elimination in the playoffs. That's crazy that season. 2010, I remember this.
Fuck the Nuggets.
The Philadelphia Flyers overcame the Boston Bruins 3-0 deficit 2010. And in 2014, the Kings of LA overcame the San Jose Sharks. And there has been one in baseball. And sadly, my Yankees gave up a 3-0 lead to the Red Sox. Has never been one in the NBA. There's never been one. There have been some close ones. Teams forcing the Game 7. The Rochester Royals almost blew one to the Knicks, but they were able to win Game 7. The Denver Nuggets almost came back against Jazz, which was 94. I think they were the 8th seed that year. Almost overcame that deficit, but they lost in Game 7. And then the Blazers almost beat the Mavericks, coming back from 3-0, lost Game 7. So we are close to maybe seeing history. And I feel like the mood around the NBA world right now is that we're at least seeing the Game 7. And then once you get to Game 7, anything can happen. We saw that last year. I didn't think there was any way in hell that the Hawks would go into Philly last season and win a Game 7, with it being their first Game 7 really as that core. And they overcame that odds, and they did it. So Game 7.
I was going to say the same. I was going to say the same thing. I was like, it might be hard to go into Philly and win a Game 7. But Philly lost the Game 7 last year. They lost a Game 7 in 2019 as well. But obviously that was on the road. This team, like, they're not, at least with this general core, is not that great in Game 7s. And so
the pressure
that does not look good for them. I think Game 6, they really have not outplayed Toronto in Toronto, won like either game they played there this series. And they won Game 3.
Should have lost.
But that's just because Joel Embiid is, to me, a top 3 player right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, that's just a top 3 player doing top 3 player things. But now with his, like, injury, if he's not playing like a top 3 player, is this version of James Harden, Tobias Harris, and Tyrese Maxey beating you? If Tyrese Maxey plays like Game 1 Tyrese Maxey, shoot, maybe. Every time I see Danny Green chuck up a shot, it reminds me of our 2019 playoff run. That he was making me sick.
One thing about Danny Green, he might be good for 1 or 2 games series.
It was like Game 5 of the 2019 finals. He was pretty decent.
Like, I
think we lost that game.
I just don't trust anybody outside of Joel. And Nick Nurse he's arguably one of the best when it comes to playoff adjustments. He waits a little bit to do that sometimes, but he's one of the best. Him, Ty Lue, Spoelstra, some of the best in the world at doing that. And Doc Rivers is not one of the best. He's probably the worst, among coaches left in the postseason. And for somebody that has that much experience. So if this goes to a Game 7, they're going to need – for this not to go to Game 7, they're going to need a generational game from Joel. He's going to have to put up 40, 15, 5 blocks. He's going to have to be ridiculous. Like, he's going to have to dominate this game. And with his thumb, he just hasn't looked the same since it happened. I don't know how realistic that is, man. I don't. So, give me the Raptors. I'm calling it. Give me Raptors in 7, bro. Give me the Raptors in 7. Y'all was my pick before the series anyways, so I'm sticking with y'all. I'm rocking with the 6.
The unfortunate thing is Matisse Thybulle does not get to play in Game 6, and I would love for him to be able to play.
But it's like still.
Man, that's crazy, though. I would rather him be playing because we really are playing 4-on-5 on offense.
But still, honestly, my personal opinion, let James beat us. Let Tobias beat us. Let Maxey beat us. Let whoever else is going to be on the court. Let them beat us. Anybody but Joel. Because once Joel gets going, you're not stopping him. But if he's struggling to get going, you have a real chance to beat this team. So anybody but Joel, that's my mindset. That's what Nick Nurse has his game plan has shifted to. Joel's seeing pretty much 2 bodies every time he touches the ball, which is how it should be. And he's yet to adjust. And I don't trust Danny Green, man. I just don't trust anybody else. Even though they have an all-star caliber guy in James Harden, I don't trust him. Beat us, James. You have never shown me in any crucial playoff situation that you can go out there and really beat a team when the pressure is high. So beat us. Show us something different. And I don't trust them. So, I don't know. Everything's working its way for y'all to pull off an historic comeback.
And if anyone's going to shut down a star for multiple games in a series, Nick Nurse is that guy. He will prioritize shutting down a star over anything. He's done it with Steph in the past, playoffs or regular season. He'll just have 3 bodies sit on Steph and leave 2 guys on islands because that's what he does. He makes sure that the stars do not beat him. And that's how you got to beat this Philly team. If they shoot like they did in Game 5, where they shot 10 of 37 from deep, and Joel's held in check, this Philly team isn't going to be able to beat you unless, like you said, Joel Embiid doesn't stay in check or James Harden finally decides to show up and prove that he can be a playoff performer.
Yeah, and it's in my eyes, it's like I play this way. Like there's some guys when you hoop with them, you'll be like, man, we'll live with that. If he hits those shots, he hits those shots. If he beats us, he beats us. That's how I feel about everybody else on Philly. It's like if Danny Green comes out of nowhere and hits 6 threes, you gotta charge that to the game. It's like, hey, he was ready. He was ready for the moment. But like you said, like Nick Nurse is the master of taking guys out of series. He's done it with Giannis. I think the bubble series, if I remember correctly, Jason Tatum did not have the best of series. It was more so like Kemba and Jaylen Brown going off. He's like he's the guy that does this. So Joel and James Harden, they're gonna have to play like the max MVP type guys that they have been in the past. Because if not, we're going to Game 7, and if it gets to Game 7, I don't think I'm picking against Nick Nurse because I don't trust Doc Rivers either.
How many series do you guys think will go to 7 out of what's left right now?
I think the one I'm watching right now is a 7-game series. We said that like months.
I think so too.
We said that like 2 months ago. Like this is probably a 7-game series regardless.
I thought if you're talking about Memphis, right?
Yes.
I thought it was going to be Memphis in 5. I was incorrect.
You said that?
Pretty sure I said that. I was wrong.
The only reason I really thought this was a 7-game series is, one, both teams played each other very well in the regular season. They split. Most of the games were super competitive. I think one went to overtime. And they're both so young. Like, just 2 young teams, and experience matters in the postseason. Like, if either one of these teams were playing, like, the Warriors right now or a healthy Suns team, they might have got their asses swept for real. Because when you go against good teams, you can't get away with giving up, 21-0 runs or blowing 20-point leads or your star player playing like not an all-star type guy, like, or your second best player getting stupid fouls every second. Like, you're not going to win games in a series like that against great teams. When you're going against a team with similar experience, it's like y'all get to make those same mistakes against each other, and it won't matter in the grand scheme of things. That's why I just think this is a 7-game series. And when it does go to 7, because I do think it is, I might lean Memphis just because it's on their home court. And, I think I trust.
There's a protest. If there's a protest, you got to lean towards Minnesota.
Nah, facts. But I don't know. This series has just been so wild. I think the Suns series might go 7, which is insane to say because they're playing against a 36-win team. But the Pelicans have been playing great. You can argue they could easily be up 3-1 right now. Very easily be up 3-1. Because Game 4, Chris Paul was generational. He was amazing. Other than that, man, they could easily be up 3-1. It's crazy, bro. Like, if you would have told me that this was going to be a 2-2 series, regardless of Devin Booker getting hurt or not, I wasn't going to believe it. But this is a big game tonight, man. This Game 5 is huge. It's huge because if it goes back to New Orleans and the Pelicans pull off this win tonight, they might close out the Suns in 6. But I'm not going to pick against the Suns at home. I think they'll take the game tonight. But other than that, what other series are going on?
I think that Dallas locks it up.
I do
in
too.
Game 6.
Yeah,
I think
so
this series, I feel like that win just kind of put this stamp on it. On Luka has arrived to the playoffs.
Jalen Brunson.
You had your Utah. You had your fun.
Honestly,
forced by Jalen Brunson and pulling out 2 games, which honestly is better than a lot of people predicted them to do.
Yep.
But I think this series is over. We saw Luka stand in the corner and let somebody else work. This series is over.
He's never been able to really effectively do that. Mainly because Rick Carlisle was kind of an imbecile last year and wanted to bench Jalen Brunson in the playoffs. But that's in the past. I moved on from it. Now you have a guy that you look next to Luka and you're like, he's like a an Eastern Conference All-Star type shot creator. Like, he's really good. And then Spencer Dinwiddie, when he's playing good, he's playing good. Like, I remember I think it was game 2. No, it was game 3 in Utah. He only made 6 shots out of his 21. But I swear, each one of those shots that he made was impactful. Spencer Dinwiddie, every shot he made was like just gut punches. Like, they were big-time shots, or it was dunking on Rudy, or it was a step-back 3. Like, it was just big-time shots that he was making. Like, this – I really love this Dallas team so much. I know we've been pretty high on them, like, you know, since like I think February-ish, like when they started to really put it all together. But man, I'm loving what I'm seeing. And second round, they would match up with the winner of Phoenix. Would it be Phoenix and
the Pelicans?
Yes.
Yeah.
Depending on who gets out of that series, and if it's the Suns, depending on D-Book's health, I don't know. That could be interesting, man. But I do agree with you, Gabe. I think they broke the Jazz last night. I think they like broke their spirit last night. Donovan Mitchell looked horrible. He's honestly looked bad the entire series, which is very surprising.
I think they're done. I think the Nuggets are done. I think the Bulls are done. The Hawks are going to be done in about 20 minutes.
Yes.
So really, it's like Grizzlies, Timberwolves probably going to go 7. Suns, Pelicans is probably going to go 7. And 76ers, Raptors is probably going to go 7. But I think everything else is done.
How are y'all feeling about the first round? Because a few days ago I was thinking, I'm like, it's kind of been disappointing because there was a lot of 3-0s or 3-1s. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, it's actually been pretty entertaining still at the same time. I feel like my expectations of the first round the last few years have been so high. And it just never reached that because there were a lot of sweeps, especially last year. There was like a bunch of sweeps or 5-game series. But I think this one's been pretty like entertaining for different reasons. Maybe not the slugfest that we expected, like, you know, Nets and Celtics, but, you know, some other series have been surprisingly competitive too. So what do y'all think about the overall product of this first round?
Yeah,
I think it's been really fun.
I have to say it's been pretty good too. Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, we're still getting 3 series in the first round where we're talking about potentially going 7, one of which is a 1-8 and one of which is a 2-7, which is just not exactly something you see in most playoffs, especially in the first round. So that's great to see. We're seeing some players that aren't exactly the stars of an individual team have some great moments in the playoffs, or guys that haven't exactly gotten some of the typical attention that often get it. As we just talked about, Jalen Brunson, who's played absolutely brilliant and is a big part that Dallas are in the lead for the series, as he was the main reason Dallas played as well as they did without Luka. Unfortunately, that now means Dallas is going to have a harder time keeping him this summer, but he has certainly helped them throughout the playoffs. Maxi Kleber has played very well for Dallas as well. He shot like over 55% from deep over the course of the series. We're seeing Brandon Ingram prove that he's a legit top 25, top 20 player in the league. He's been absolutely magnificent. Desmond Bane has been the lead scorer for Memphis over the majority of the series. He's been very good. DeAndre Hunter having another good game tonight for Atlanta. He's asserting himself as one of the best 3-and-D wings in the league. There's just been many performances like that have been fun and intriguing for me that aren't necessarily the KD goes off for 40 points type of intrigue, but have still made the playoffs very interesting, very fun to follow. Some of these next wave of NBA talents that are really showing how good they can be at the playoff level, at that highest level of basketball, while still having, like we talked about, a few good series when you're talking about Memphis, Minnesota, Pelicans, Suns, and Toronto 76ers, and even some of the blowouts. Now you're looking at Miami, seeing how solid their defense is and how dominant they can be. We're looking at Golden State finally for the first time actually healthy and seeing what that team can look like. So there's been lots of positives from this first round. The Boston-Brooklyn series being a sweep is probably what will lead many people to consider it relatively disappointing, because that was arguably the most hyped up series, especially by the media. But all in all, I'd have to say it's still been a pretty positive experience.
I agree.
I see what you mean by it's been like fun in a different way. Because just like watching that Warriors lineup, this series is not competitive, but it's still so entertaining to watch this team. I mean, there's a reason why the Warriors were one of the biggest bandwagons of all time. How can you watch that and not enjoy it? It's just impossible. And then, like, Timberwolves and Grizzlies, yeah, it's tied, but I feel like a couple of those games have been blowouts. At least I know like Game 3 was. I think it was Game 3. No, Game 3 was the one where they blew the leads.
Game 2.
Game 2, the one where like Memphis just absolutely blew them out. But like the comeback was crazy, and just the Twitter beef and them just like
Their jaw and
this is listen. This is what I want to see out of the playoffs. Like where they're like, oh, back in my day, they used to have real rivalries. They didn't like each other. Nah, this like Twitter beef is so entertaining to
It's
watch.
fan rivalries now.
Yeah,
And
It
at the end of the day, like I don't like Kat and John Morant don't have any kind of hate for each other.
oh no,
It's just competitive game, and I think that's just so fun to watch. And then like the fact that I mean, it definitely is nice as a Raptors fan, but just the fact that they refused to die, and now it's like they might see history.
right.
It's just entertaining to see like, bro, can they put them away? Like this is like the most extreme example of like we've become so numb to comebacks. I feel like ever since like Loki, ever since like the Cavs and Patriots did what they did within a year of each other, I've been up, and that was the same year the Cubs did what they did. So ever since like 2016 to 17 range, I've been so numb to comebacks. But the fact that this one has never happened, it brings back the excitement of a comeback.
Definitely.
So like, and then I don't know, I just always love seeing Utah just get torn apart. I don't know why. I just like when the Clippers took like the Terrence Mann game last year.
Oh, you would have swore I was a Clipper fan watching that. Real talk.
And then I don't know, it's like series that just aren't like the least entertaining series is probably the Heat series and the Bucks series. And I didn't really expect those to be much just because the Bulls played so not good to end the year.
Yeah.
And the Hawks snuck in there by the skin of their teeth.
I think one of my favorite parts, and this is weird because I love Chris Paul, but Game 4, him beefing with Herb Jones, Jose Alvarado, and Brandon Ingram, I love that. I love how like it seemed like the young guys just didn't respect Chris Paul. And I was actually loving that. Like, I love the intensity, man. Like, they was not – I love when Herb Jones was on the ground, Chris Paul tried to help him up. He's like, nah. He's like, nah, you waiting for his teammates. Like, I love that intensity, bro. Like, this is the playoffs, bro. Like, this is the playoffs. Teams are fighting for their lives. Players are fighting for, like, their next contracts and stuff. Like, showing that, they deserve a little bag. So I just love seeing that intensity, man. I think that's been my favorite part. It just seemed like the intensity on all sides, man. It seems like with a lot of these teams, there's no love lost. There's still a lot of respect there, obviously, but it's war, and I love seeing that because that's what the playoffs is all about, man. It's a battle.
Yeah, people are entering
100%.
their first playoffs. People are entering their first playoffs and going insane. Like Tyrese Maxey. I mean, Tyrese Maxey is not his first year, but he's a much better player than he was last time he saw playoff minutes. He came out of the gates swinging. Jordan Poole, first playoffs. He was all over social media, and that dude is hilarious, by the way. Always has been based off these videos. And then the Pelicans rookies, pretty much everybody coming into the Grizzlies Timberwolves series because besides, like, D'Angelo Russell, like, barely anybody there's been a prominent player on a deep playoff run.
Yeah, Steven Adams has a little experience, but other than that,
I shouldn't
Pat
say
Bev.
deep playoff run. When last time, like, okay, D'Angelo Russell's like the only one to be like a top player on a playoff team.
yeah, facts. Like, yeah, both of those teams are like babies, and like they're babies out there, and one of them is gonna move on to the next round, which is the craziest thing. But I don't know. I've had a lot of fun, man. Anthony Edwards has been really good. Brandon Ingram's been killing it. The young guys, I love seeing that, man.
And he's just bro. He's just so like great, and then not like he just has a great game, and then he does the opposite, and it's like whatever version you get almost decides how the game is going to go.
When he gets to a level of consistency, he is going to be a very, very special talent. There's no doubt about it. Because when I saw him in those playing games, I was just like, okay, this guy is just showing up unfazed, completely unbothered, full of confidence, just showing up in win or go home games. And he just looked in his element. And as you mentioned, Gabe, sometimes he does have those inconsistencies where he does have some really down games. but he's still only 20. He is 20. This guy has so much ahead of him still, where that consistency is likely going to come. I still think his defensive ability has so much upside as well. This is legitimately a guy who has the upside to be an elite two-way perennial all-star, if not superstar in this league. He's pretty similar as far as I'm concerned, just obviously in guard form and on the wing. So how we were talking about Jason Tatum a little bit ago, a couple of months ago, from what his ceiling is, obviously a couple of years younger than where Jason Tatum is right now, but where if he can get that little bit of consistency, he has the potential to be that elite MVP candidate type guy. And Edwards still has some development to do to get there, but he has the offensive talent. He has the defensive upside to do it. There's no limits to how good Anthony Edwards could be if he gets that consistency and continues to improve on defense. He's just an absolutely outrageous talent.
I hate throwing this label on any 6'4", 6'5", strong guard that's super athletic, but he has all the makings to be like a Dwayne Wade type of guy. Like he really could be that, and maybe even like more talented. You know, like he's more athletic. You know, his offensive game maybe is a little more advanced at this age. Like, he has all the talent to be like that good, I think. Like, I don't think that's too crazy to say. I think he does have that kind of talent. It's just, you know, a matter of him eventually putting it all together. And the fact he's only 20 years old, scary. That's so scary, bro. Like he's got the talent to be like one of the best in the league at some point, man. He's already one of the best, you know, at his position. I would say like he's probably top 10 in his position. It's been amazing, just like Gabe says, about getting that consistency down, which you see that a lot with super young guys. Like they just don't have the consistency at sometimes. You know, sometimes he makes some bonehead plays. Like he almost sent the game to overtime unintentionally the other night. But, you know, it's just about eliminating things like that, eliminating the inconsistencies, and just becoming a more well-rounded player, better defensively, maybe a little more of a willing passer. And the sky's the limit for him. That's the word, man. Sky is the absolute limit for that guy.
Hey, those two are gonna hold down that draft class, man. Him and LaMelo. If you would have asked me a year ago, I would have been like, man, Ant is cool, but they definitely should have taken LaMelo number one. I think I flipped the script because if you ask me right now, I'm taking Ant. I'm taking Ant.
I want to see LaMelo with no leash on him. I want to see him just like free. That's why we talked about this. I like James Borrego, and he got dismissed as a head coach, which I think is the right move. I think they need a new voice. I think they need somebody that's really gonna. Okay, this is LaMelo's team. This is LaMelo's team. Like this is his team. He's going into year 3. He's the most talented guy on this roster. Of course, they got to do a little more better roster construction, getting some competent big men in there. But I can't wait to see who they have in that place next season. And hopefully they get the absolute most out of LaMelo Ball because dude's ultra talented, and I just don't think we've seen him really without that leash. I feel like there's been a little leash on him. Like he can't really do everything that he might be capable of.
Which that's not to say I don't think he should do it like Luka was doing before this year or like what Trae Young does now. Like I think you should still utilize your talent and like Terry Rozier and other people's skill sets and things and like because the whole just like one guy has the ball the whole time. But definitely him having like a higher usage and definitely being cemented as number one, I do think that's a good step.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's still enough talent on the roster that he doesn't have to be a Luka when you talk about Terry Rozier and Miles Bridges. But I think having less of a leash for him is definitely going to be very exciting. I think we could see a very significant increase in production from him in this upcoming season. But I think there's definitely got to be some moves that have to be made in Charlotte, no doubt. Terry Rozier, as you talked about, he's a little bit redundant on this team when you talk about having LaMelo, when you talk about having Miles Bridges. Gordon Hayward is still there, who continues to have injury problems. He could be moved. Of course, Charlotte are always going to be in the market for a center. So depending on what they surround LaMelo with for talent next year, it's going to be very interesting to see what type of season he can have next year. And again, he's still only another year 2 guy, just like Anthony Edwards. Tons of upside for those 2 guys.
And they have first round picks that couldn't even get minutes because that team is super deep and talented, but it's just like their talent is like there's a cap. Like they don't have like a bunch of like super elite guys. They have a bunch of like good players, like good players that deserve NBA minutes. And
They can't defend.
yeah, the very, very similar theme on that team. I think Mitch Kupchak is still in the front office. He's gonna have to make some tough decisions this summer. I would hope they would pay Miles Bridges I don't know about every penny he wants because he wants a lot of money, but a good contract for somebody that can average 20 points per game in the NBA. They got some moves to make, man. They got to get a competent big in there, though. Like, I want to see a really just solid big man, like a Mitchell Robinson type. I think that would be perfect for them. Somebody that can run the floor, block some shots, get some rebounds, and just, still stick with the timeline a little bit, not advance it. We'll see what they do with Terry and Gordon Hayward and other guys, but it's a good job to have. I mean, you got LaMelo Ball to build around. Like, you can make something happen. It's good to see that they made some type of stride this year, but I think with all things expected, they were kind of projected to at least be a playoff team. I know they won more games, but it's like they were still the 10th seed, and they still got destroyed in the play-in. So, in my eyes, same season as last year. You got to get better. I think getting rid of Borrego, who did a very good job with developing talent in this time there, is the first step into this team becoming a solidified playoff team.
I think the thing is they ended at the same spot, but I think that – and I feel like we should probably move off for the Hornets talk because since we're in the middle of the playoffs. I don't know if it's exactly what people want to hear the most, but the last thing I want to say about them is they ended at the same spot, but I felt like it was more led by like LaMelo and Miles, the young guys, whereas I think a season prior, there was definitely a lot more of like Gordon and Zero. And so I think you stayed at the same place, but how you got there, I think still showed a decent amount of improvement. So I still think they're on the right track.
That's fair. Okay, so you want to move on. All right, let's get to the juicy, man. Is Tatum better than KD? Is that – no, I'm just playing.
Oh, yeah. He's better on defense. We
about to get to
better at playing within the team system. And he beat him head-to-head, which means he has to be better than him. He swept him. He got the brooms out.
We're about to get to our first take conversation. It's like we're about to start talking about players' legacies.
Is KD going to leave the Nets?
Bruh, I think Perkins said that earlier. Like, bro, yes, the Nets roster construction is not amazing. But KD ain't no saint. He was terrible this series. Like, what? He went a whole second half without hitting a shot. He went a whole fourth quarter taking one shot.
Man, I could make a whole video every week about crazy things that Kendrick Perkins says.
But if KD went to the Suns, I mean, you wouldn't have to worry about getting double teamed.
Look. If that's the case, he should have just stayed in Golden State if he was worried about getting double teamed because he was not seeing as many double teams in Golden State.
He got off of a sinking ship. Steph Curry got injured. Klay Thompson got injured.
He was hurt. They would have been on the same timeline.
They drafted some dude from Michigan that's making meme videos. So, he got off a sinking ship. I don't know what any of those guys are doing right now. They even in the playoffs.
Me personally, if I was KD, I would not have left Golden State. I would have stayed. Me personally, I'm like, I don't care what the media says. I don't care what you NBA fans say. I'm about to stack my chips, so y'all can't say nothing. Yeah, I went to Golden State, but I won 7 championships. So what are y'all gonna say about it? I won 7 championships. Like, come on, bro. That's me. I think he would
have been cool in Brooklyn if they didn't make the James Harden trade. I think that was really the biggest mistake. They had solid depth. This is a team
like acquiring him from Houston?
The one to acquire him because they had so many pieces still on the team. At that point they still had Karras, they still had Jarrett
Allen,
they still had Spencer. They had so many players that are like Jarrett Allen's an all-star. Spencer Dinwiddie's making Luka play off the ball. Karras ain't doing much. He had a couple flashes on Indiana. I feel like they would have got rid of him eventually anyway.
He was good with them. He was really good with them, though.
Yeah, he was.
He was a solid bench player.
He was a good secondary scorer for sure.
He put a 50 on my Celtics. Like, it was pretty nice.
They could have really had that team going nice. And then, butterfly effect. Hey, maybe Joe Harris is still in because you changed one tiny thing and you can completely rewrite history.
Hey, maybe.
So if we talking hypotheticals, like, they could for real be decent.
And that's That is the definition of why teams should never name chase. The Lakers fell victim to that this season, name chasing star players, because look, the grass is not always greener. It is not always greener.
JaVale McGee is better than 80% of the current Lakers roster, and they let him go.
I think Philly's dealing with that too right now. They name changed James Harden also, and instead of maybe getting a package of Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and Harrison Barnes, or potentially getting a nice package from
You get it, CJ McCollum and Anthony Simons.
instead, you gave up assets to get James Harden, who honestly is a shell of himself right now. So it's like, man, teams just need to stop getting fleeced, man, with star player trades, bro, because even the Lakers, like, they won the championship off the Anthony Davis trade, but their future, oh my God, Ja caught a body. But their future is looking super bleak, depending on what happens this offseason. Their future is looking abysmal.
Oh my.
Ja caught a body.
Yeah, anybody watching knows exactly what we're talking about.
It feels like there's very few of those superstar trades nowadays that pan out well for the team that acquire the star. Like, we're in a time now where teams have to give up so much to acquire a star. Like, other than acquiring Kawhi Leonard for the Raptors, given the injury circumstances around that, you are giving up a ton of assets now to acquire a star. You're talking 3 to 4 firsts and at least one significant young player, whether that's Brandon Ingram, whether that's SGA, amongst other trades. It's tough to win those trades because the other team is getting a crap ton of assets, which usually helps them rebuild to have a very good team. And then the other side, well, if you don't win a title, you're kind of screwed, and you usually give up most of your depth to get that star to win a title.
And I know what I was about to say. The Ben Simmons trade I still think it's a W for the Nets, because even though he hasn't played, James Harden has been so bad that I'm just like, they were not going to win a title this year with this version of James Harden. I think you come into next year with Ben, and you got Seth Curry.
And 2 first-round picks. Curry
and you got the picks. That's honestly – that was a W trade. I think they should have never gotten James Harden to begin with, but they got off of him in just about the best way they could.
I don't know. I feel like they had a better chance with James Harden over Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons, man. I don't know if I'm about to give him the treatment that I gave him early on in the season, where I'm not talking about him until he gets traded. I might not talk about him until he plays, bro. Because it's getting, like, redundant now. Like, we're just, like, beating a dead horse. Like, I mean, I defended him in Philly. I feel like Philly was some of his fault, of course, but wasn't all his fault. Doc Rivers throwing him under the bus was bad. Joel Embiid always throwing subliminals was bad. The fans turning on him was bad. Like, there was a lot going into it. But it seems like everywhere he's been, go back to college, kind of quit on his team. Philly, it was a little bit like both ways, but he was a part of it too. He didn't play a game this entire season. He could have at least played, maybe. And then Brooklyn, I mean, he was supposed to play game 4, and then I saw Shams reported that he made the decision to not play, which is a little – I can understand that the team was like, okay, we don't want you to play. He made the decision not to play. And that just makes me question, like, your integrity a little bit, man. Like, your team's against the wall. You haven't played with them yet. Nobody's asking you to come out and all of a sudden, be the all-star Ben Simmons. We just want to see you on the court. Give us a different look. See if y'all can win a game and then go on from there. And he decided not to play, man. It's kind of disappointing. And then he wasn't even on the bench, which he had been on the bench the entire series. Wasn't even on the bench, man. Somebody likes Ben Simmons, man. He's going to have to come back in a big way next year, given that, he is in Brooklyn. He plays next season. He's going to have to come back in a big way, man, because the lasting image that we have of him on the court is him passing up a layup. And the lasting image that we have of him in Brooklyn right now is him not being there for his team. So the whole situation was
that tweet that resurfaced was brutal.
Yeah, man. He's gonna have to make up for a lot of this, man. For this trade to not look like a just pointless, dumb trade on both sides, he's gonna have to come back and make up for it, bro.
Yeah, definitely. I think how you said it is exactly how I feel. I find there is no reason to talk about Ben Simmons now until he just plays on the court. We can speculate over he feels this way or doesn't feel this way and wish he played and yada, yada. But at the end of the day, no one's going to put Ben Simmons on the court other than Ben Simmons. And until he plays, he's not going to play. And until he plays, we don't really have anything to evaluate what he can even do on a basketball court right now. We haven't seen him on a court in nearly a year now. And I just want to see him play basketball, regardless of what he's got going on with his back or his mental health. I just hope he can get well, can feel ready to actually play. He can just get himself in a position to play basketball again at the end of the day. When that'll be, who really knows at this point? Hopefully by the start of next season, but just want him playing basketball at the end of the day.
Hey, maybe he's one of those guys where at the end of the day, it's really just his job. And he's just there because it's work. And, like, I'm not going to hate on that because that's, like, I feel like that's a lot of people in life is, yeah, you got a job, and it's really just your job. But I'm just saying, I think the people who feel the most satisfied are the ones who, like, enjoy and love what they do and are, like, really chasing to be great at what they do. Like, I'm not going to be a pro athlete or anything, but I know in the career I want to go into, I'm going to try to be great.
Yep.
And it's like, it just seems like you don't have that drive. And that just sucks to see because it's like just on like a life thing, it's like you want to see people that are great, like, just be happy with what they do.
Maybe he is just happy, throwing fits on the sideline and playing, Warzone and shit like that. But I don't know. I'm the type of person where it's like I can't just do something just because I'm good at it. I actually have to love it too. Like, if that's the case, I would still be an accounting major right now because they make way more money than the average journalist. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be a journalist. So it's like, I don't know. It's like, if that's the case, I'm not hating on the guy. It's like, if it is just, I'm just trying to pick up my paycheck, that's fine, I guess. Do you. Like, if that's what you want to do, go ahead, do that. But from the standpoint of the Brooklyn Nets, they traded for this guy thinking, he's about to make us a championship team again because we're struggling. James Harden doesn't want to be here. He's going to make us a championship team. And that's not the case. I mean, it's just kind of disappointing, man. Like, I just want to see him play basketball because I'm actually I like watching Ben Simmons play basketball. I don't know, that's an unpopular opinion, but I actually enjoy the guy. He's a very, like, high IQ basketball player. He plays the game, like, really the right way. Whether you say his jump shooting is whatever, he plays the game the right way. He's a very smart guy on the court. I just want to see him play again, and I feel like the potential of Brooklyn with Ben Simmons offensively looks like he can be a Draymond Green type of guy, and I really want to see that. But it just seems like dude's always in the media for the wrong reasons. For somebody who doesn't say much, he's always something coming up about him. Something's up with Ben Simmons all the time. And it's been like this for the last, like, year plus, and it's getting so old and tiring, bro.
He's just like a unique player, and I think that makes him fun. That honestly, like, that's the reason why I like a lot of players. When I first really came around to Giannis, it was just because it was like, this dude is like an old school just bulldozer. And that's cool because we're in the era of everybody wants to do a step back, like, just like fancy layups and stuff. And now this guy's going to go through you. He's not going around you or, like, stepping away from you. He's just going straight through you and getting that. And it's like, Ben Simmons is one of those players that it's like, he really does not play like anybody else plays. And while, yes, it's like meme to all hell, it's a change of pace. So it's like, it's just fun to see different play styles. And any team with him on it is going to have a pretty unique play style, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, it is a different style of play. And to many fans, that is not appealing. But, man, I love a guy that just works hard on defense. I love it. I love Herb Jones for a reason. I love Jared Vanderbilt for a reason. Like, those types of high-energy guys that just compete and play physical night in, night out, those are fun to watch. Those are very fun to watch. And Ben Simmons has molded into a player that has shown that he can do that he can be a very good defender and works hard on that end. And is a very good playmaker, has a lot of offensive intelligence for playmaking and finding open guys. Just hope we get to see that again at some point in time, whether that's in Brooklyn or otherwise. But talking about Ben Simmons, I want to move away from that. I want to talk about most improved player / Jordan Poole, because there was a lot of discourse about that over the last 24 to 48 hours, with John Morant being named the most improved player. And in turn, Jordan Poole wasn't even a finalist, and then, of course, did not win the award. And there was a lot of people on Twitter, especially, that seemed to be very critical of the fact that Jordan Poole, A, wasn't a finalist, and then B, of course, didn't win it. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on that. I forget which one of you it was that had Jordan Poole mentioned as a finalist and which one of you didn't, but there's definitely some varying thoughts on that. It was Tyrik. Okay. So I'll start with you, Tyrik. I'm just curious. I want to get your guys' thoughts on that and whether Jordan Poole really should have been that significantly in the conversation for it.
I think so, just because it's like Ja is such a unique case because he did make a big jump, obviously, but he's the first rookie of the year to win the award. And when I think about it, like last season, his second year, he got a little consideration for All-Star. Not a lot, but he got a little bit of consideration for All-Star. And the fact he won Rookie of the Year, he's been in the postseason, he's been the best player on his team. It's just weird to me. Like, he's somebody we expect, like, oh, yeah, he's primed to make a big jump. Jordan Poole is somebody that's like, he could take a big jump, but if he doesn't, you know, that's like not like crazy surprising because maybe he's just not that kind of guy. But he took a big jump, and then by the end of the season, he was like their best player for like the last like month. You know, to be honest, like between him, I mean, Clay was having some big games, but Jordan Poole was putting up like 25 a night for like a month straight. Like he was going crazy, and that's with Steph Curry being out, of course. But I don't know, like it's like I made a tweet. I said I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad that y'all won the award because in all technicality, he probably is the most improved player. He jumped up 8 points per game, and he became an all-star. Like, he might be the most improved player. But when you look at the history of the award, like I was watching Through the Wire earlier, they were going through all the award winners, and only like a select few guys like were like end up being like superstar type guys. And we expect Ja to be that. I don't think anybody expects Jordan Poole to be a superstar. You know, I don't think people expect DeJounte Murray to be a superstar, who was my winner. That's the only like kind of argument I have with it. And I think Ja understands it. He's like, look, I think he was more so like of an MVP candidate before he missed all those games, opposed to most improved. I think that's why he tried to give Desmond Bane the award, because he's like, look, I don't really deserve this that much. But I understand it. I'm not mad at it. At the end of the day, probably other than Rookie of the Year, this is the most irrelevant award out of them all, because you know, not a lot of most improved players turn into be like superstar guys. Like it might be just a 1 year thing. So it's kind of irrelevant, but I was surprised that Jordan Poole wasn't at least a finalist. That did kind of shock me just a little bit. It was Ja, DeJounte, and was Darius Garland the other one?
Yeah, it was.
Very surprising. I'm not gonna lie, man. But shout out
there
to
was
Ja.
just so many like people that could have been finalists, because we're sitting here talking about should Jordan Poole have been in there, and it's like Desmond Bane wasn't in there either. And he improved crazy.
He's a second year guy though, which does kind of hurt his case. If he's a third year guy, then yeah, he's probably in consideration.
I think that's kind of dumb, only from this aspect. If it's like a top pick, like say for instance Zion last year, he jumped like 8 points per game damn near, or John Morant, or you know top pick guys, or like say Anthony Edwards, he made a nice leap this season. I kind of get that. Like, okay, these are top picks. We expect these guys to make a big jump. But if it's a 30 overall pick in Desmond Bane jumping up 9 points per game, that's a big jump. That's like, oh, that's kind of crazy. Like, that's unexpected. Kind of like when Devontae Graham did that a few years ago. He jumped from 4 points to 20 points a game. And I think he finished third. Like, I understand it in a certain way, like second-year guys, they're supposed to improve. But when it's an unprecedented jump like a Desmond Bane, a Tyrese Maxey, I feel like those guys should get a little more traction for the award, because that is like kind of a surprise. I didn't expect Tyrese Maxey to be this good. I didn't expect Desmond Bane to – I don't know if I ever expected Desmond Bane to reach this kind of level of NBA basketball.
I think this is what most people would have had as his, like, this is his prime, and he's doing it in year two.
Like, for real, man. I don't know. It's kind of weird, man. I didn't see the voting breakdown, but I feel like a lot of people should have been in the same boat. Like, yeah, Ja made the big jump, but we expected Ja to make that jump. Like, this is his time to make that jump. It'd be like if they gave Steph Curry most improved when he jumped from 23 points per game to 30 points per game, his second MVP season. Like,
hey, people were talking about, like, when Giannis became the MVP, they were talking about giving him most improved again.
They were.
I will say my main note that I want to take away from this is that it seems like sort of a sign of consistency on a general sense of taking the award names very literally.
Yes.
You see that with the MVP, with it used to like have all this like the best player on the best team with some crazy stats, or like best player on like a top like 5 team.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like to me, that might not always be the player with the most value, but now they're like, oh, Jokic is the most valuable because this team be terrible without him. I'm going to be honest. He doesn't have his next 2 top stars is the new Jason Tatum is only 20. It's the most like, I swear I've heard it like every like 10 seconds. They're like, oh, and he's doing this without his second and third best player. It's literally like, and he's only 20 years old. It's the same thing, I swear. So I can't wait for Jamal Murray to be back just for that. No Jokic, just like we get it.
No, facts.
But yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, you might have expected Ja to do this, but did he improve the most?
I don't think so.
He might have, because here's the thing about it too that I want to bring up is so many players, their stats take that crazy jump just because they have a much bigger opportunity. And while I think, honestly, Poole might be one of the only other guys who actually had a decent amount of opportunity last year, and he got a lot better this year. But a lot of guys that win the award, it can just be they have just so much more opportunity and space to acquire those stats.
Yeah, here's
Ja was not really on the leash last year, and he still improved this much.
But here's why. Like, we knew Ja was the guy for this team last season, but they traded Valanciunas because they're like, we're giving you the keys. Like, you're supposed to be the guy. Like, it shouldn't be in question. We don't want to run through JV anymore. Like, you're the guy. Like, a lot of times JV was like sometimes they're leading scoring games last year because he was that dominant on the block. So I feel like Ja was really expected to like make that all-star type league. I feel like if you ask any average NBA fan, if there was one player this season that was going to be a first-time all-star, most people would say Ja Morant. I don't think people would say DeJounte Murray would be a first-time all-star. I don't think people were saying Darius Garland should be a first-time all-star. And I don't think people were expecting Jordan Poole to take this kind of leap either. That's my only thing. It's like, when you look at traditional like MIP guys, it's usually a guy that's like maybe year 3, year 4 type dude that he's been cool. Like, he's been good. He's shown flashes. Like, classic Julius Randle. Like, he's been good. He's showing flashes. Then boom, he puts it all together. He's an all-star now. Where you look at a CJ McCollum, like, that's maybe something like an opportunity, like minutes opened up. But for him to go from like 6 points per game to 20 points a game, that's unprecedented. Like, I don't even think a lot of people expected that. And I'm having trouble thinking of other guys. But, you know, the Paul George year where he won most improved, like, these guys are like, they were cool players before, turned into all-stars. Ja Morant was, you know, he was getting some all-star consideration last year. And then some more shots opened up. He realized, I'm that guy. And he jumps up to 27 points per game. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's just weird to me. At the end of the day, it's just most improved, so it's not that big of a deal. But I feel like guys like DeJounte, Darius Garland, Jordan Poole, even his teammate Desmond Bane, Maxey, I feel like a lot more guys deserve this award over Ja Morant because I feel like they fit the mold in my eyes of a most improved player guy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I feel like they're breaking the mold because I do feel like DeJounte, not to say that he has not had major improvements, but I think part of his improvement could be attributed to like DeMar being out of town.
It could be, but then sometimes you can look at guys like hell, I thought Nickeil Alexander-Walker was about to come out, be crazy, average like 15 points per game, and he didn't do that. So like sometimes you see guys have their opportunity open up, but they don't do anything with it too. So I think you got to put that into account also. And yeah, they might be breaking the mold of most improved player. Like next season, we might see LaMelo win it. Like honestly, he might jump up to 25 points per game, and then we'll be like, let's give LaMelo the award.
Yeah, I think really the main reason for all the controversy about it is because that and Sixth Man of the Year have always been those awards that kind of recognize players that aren't already recognized.
Yes.
And so when you got a guy that is all NBA, all-star, MVP considerations, already the Rookie of the Year, he's been recognized plenty, and I really think that's what drives people the wrong way. It's like, we want to see somebody who, otherwise people might not look at and really pay that much attention to, them really get that spotlight. And so from that perspective, I'm like, okay, maybe breaking the mold isn't the best idea. Maybe taking it so literally in this award is not the best route to go. But as far as what they did, I can see why they did it.
Yeah. I'm thinking some other award cases, like, first off, I need my flowers for Marcus Smart winning Defensive Player of the Year. I need my flowers for that, man.
I need you to – you can talk your shit. You can talk your shit.
No, I am happy he won the award. He was getting a lot of discourse on Twitter also, but I feel like everybody's going to be upset with every award this year. I just feel like that's the case because there's so many candidates.
Someone will always be upset about any decision via Twitter.
Yes.
That'll always be the case.
But look,
if people are upset about Tyler Hero, that's wild.
Someone will be mad. I will be able to find someone when that is announced that will be slandering Tyler Hero.
Oh, yeah.
Now, everything else, if somebody wants to be mad about Marcus or Jokic or who else, I don't know. Ja, of course. If people are mad about who, I don't even know who's supposed to win, Coach. I don't know who got the most votes. I assume Monty, right?
I think Monty. Yeah, I think he's the favorite.
People are upset about Rookie of the Year for sure, especially those fans.
Yeah.
The way I look
especially those people in Ohio.
The way I look at the award races this year, it's like if somebody else wins, I'm not gonna be mad. Like there's a lot of deserving guys for pretty much every award except for Sixth Man of the Year.
Exactly.
There's a lot of deserving guys. That's why, like, if Marcus Smart didn't win, I wouldn't be upset. But I wouldn't be like, oh, Rudy won again? Oh, he's a bum. He gets exposed. I don't want to be all that. Like, no, Rudy's a hell of a defensive player. But, there's a lot of deserving candidates. I am happy to see Marcus win it. I feel like he's just that important to this team defensively. And best defensive team, honestly, like historically good, they seem like. And I'm just glad to see that a guard is finally getting that recognition. I thought last year Ben Simmons was going to be the guy to break the mold, but took a year later. But I'm just happy to see it, man. I hope that's something that the mold is broken a little bit more. Like we see, more guys like Mikal Bridges and Smart, Ben Simmons, Drew Holiday, guys like that are really, like guys like that are really working on the defensive side of the ball every single night at the guard position, which is very tough to do, and had that opportunity to win the award because pretty much for the entirety of its existence, it's been a big man-dominated award, which is just very tough to see because these guards are just as, viable, like very important in a way still. And I think we saw that this season with Marcus Smart. And who knows? I wonder who the next guy is going to be to win the award or how long it takes before another guard wins this award. But I'm happy to see it.
The only weird thing about the pick to me is just the fact that I felt like at least the Celtics community was really pushing for Time Lord, did like that Time Lord agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And then it seemed like Time Lord went out. And then all of a sudden Marcus Smart just jumped in there. And so it seems like they were more just really trying to get this award onto the Celtics because their defense was so good.
You know why that might have been? It's because I think we're kind of brainwashed into like it might be wishful thinking for a guard to win the award, but how realistic is it? I think that's what a lot of people are thinking. And I'll be honest, I think Time Lord going out made me realize just how valuable Marcus Smart is because there wasn't really that much drop-off with him off the court. I mean, those first two games against Brooklyn, they were still very good defensively. So it's like I think the time that Rob Williams did miss kind of showed the value of Marcus Smart a little bit more in that sense. But I do kind of agree with you, Gabe. It's like people – I mean, I was one that was pushing for Time Lord before he got hurt too. But I think that's more so like we didn't believe that a guard was actually going to win the award. I was a little surprised when I saw he won it, to be honest. I won't lie about it.
I felt like he jumped into the conversation out of nowhere. And it's not to say that he wasn't deserving. It's just like, dang, that happened so fast. But everybody's known him as the defensive leader of this team forever.
Yep.
And now the whole team is just crazy on defense. I mean, at this point, if they put Jason Tatum in Defensive Player of the Year conversations, if they did playoff awards, he'd be leading that race right now.
100%. 100%.
Y'all pick Scotty to win the award.
Yeah.
I picked Scotty, I picked Ja, I picked Tyler, and I picked Monty. Those are my, 4 picks that hit.
Yeah.
I missed because I said Jaren. over Marcus, and then I missed because I said Giannis.
Yeah.
I was surprised that Jaren wasn't even a finalist, but there were a lot of deserving guys for sure. But I thought Jaren was a finalist. I feel like
I was really happy to see Mikal as a finalist. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised at how low he was for sure. I thought Jaren was going to get a little bit more love, but
honestly, though, seeing the way this playoffs are going for him, now it's like, okay, it's kind of like he's almost giving me that Rudy Gobert syndrome where it's like, man, I was really high on his defense, but maybe I was wrong because now it's like, yeah, he had that blocks title and he was playing great defense, but they're playing him off the court right now. This whole series.
You just can't say I'm foul trouble. That's really the main
and that means you're not playing good defense. You're fouling.
Yeah. But I didn't realize, like, they said he's had, like, I think he fouled out 22 times in the regular season.
And it's like, I know. And so it's like, I don't know. Maybe I kind of overlooked it because the highs were so high.
Yeah.
But now it's like the lows are really sticking out. And so now it's just like, I feel like it might put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And it's like, man, now he might not ever get the award. I feel like that might have been his best chance because if people are paying attention to this series and see that this man is literally playing like 25 minutes a game. I mean,
he fouled out in what tonight? It wasn't long.
17 minutes.
18 minutes. Yeah.
I think Kenny tweeted it.
That is a yikes. That is a big yikes. And like, there's no doubt when he is available, he is valuable. But as you guys said, part of being a good defender is being able to stay out of foul trouble. And like, yeah, I'm scrolling through his game log right now. There is quite a few games this year where he's hitting at 4 or 5 fouls.
That's like, what's the point of playing defense if you foul?
He didn't foul out a ton. Like, I don't even think he fouled out more than 5 times.
It might have been like
through here, but
foul trouble then, like 4 or 5.
Yeah, but he definitely has got 20 plus where he's sitting with 4 plus fouls. And he's still young. Like he could improve in that part. He's still only 22. He hasn't been looked at as an elite defender until this season, but it's definitely something he's going to have to work on. And it's not the first time we've seen a rim protector coming in the league like this who's really been a foul trouble type of guy. So it could still be changed in the positive direction, but that's something he's definitely going to have to be a lot more mindful of heading into next season now that it's become a very obvious concern in the playoffs.
And that's why guys like Marcus, Rob Williams, Giannis, even Rudy Gobert, the ability to not foul but still being an amazing defender is an underrated aspect of basketball. I think people kind of overlook that, man, because you only get 6 of those things, especially in the playoffs. Once you pick up 2, you sit on the bench for about 10 minutes. It can get dicey, and that can blow a game for your team in a series. And Ja just told Pat Bev he's too little.
Yeah, that's definitely something to consider.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like
while we've been here,
people can overvalue blocks too to an extent, because blocks is often something that does lead to more fouls if you're actively seeking out blocks as compared to just altering shots. Like if you look at someone like Jared Allen this season, great defender, probably would have been a defensive player of the year candidate if he doesn't get injured. Only averaged 1.3 blocks per game, but he also only averaged 1.7 fouls per game. But no one would say he's not altering shots. No one would say he's not an elite defender, but he's not actively seeking blocks. He just is a very good rim presence who actively alters shots and makes them much more difficult.
Exactly. Very good point. That's why guys like Giannis are so good, because they change shots without getting in foul trouble. Rudy changes shots without getting in foul trouble. Like you said, Jaren's only being 22 is kind of crazy, and he's shown a lot of strides just this season. Just the ability to stay healthy was a big one. So I'm not like, we're not giving up on the guy at all by any means, but it's just, learning, getting better. And I feel like that's what the playoffs are for. It just, reinforces the fact like, hey, you got to be smarter. You got to make a lot more smarter decisions. So it's going to be key, man. That's going to be very key for him and this Grizzlies team in the future, because going forward, he's going to be the second best player on this team, for the foreseeable future. So he's got to be able just to be on the court for his team in critical situations. Luckily, Brandon Clark has been pretty good in this series for them.
It's my Canadian right there. He's been performing. He's been playing really well. I've been surprised he hasn't been starting in this series, if I'm going to be completely honest. I thought he was going to be the one he filled into the starting lineup when Steven Adams went out. And he's been playing starters minutes either way, so it's not that deep. But
I think his energy off the bench is key for them, for real.
Yeah.
Was it last season? Was it last season where he fell out of the rotation like almost completely?
Yeah, I think it was last year. Now, he did play a lot worse at point in times last year than he played this year. He came out of the gate a lot better this year, and especially over the back half of the year. But, yeah, I'm going to check his game logs pretty quick. But, he only played 59 games last year. Started 16. But I'm fairly confident that was not necessarily due to injury.
We should have seen these fouls coming. I just checked. Yeah, Kat and Jaren were literally second and third in fouls per game this year. And them boys have been fouling so much all series. I'm happy that it's both of them just because one side can't say like blank versus refs. Both of them are legitimately just fouling a lot.
I follow a lot of Timberwolves fans on Twitter, and they really be complaining about the refs a lot. And I'm like, yeah, I get it, but it's been both ways. Like the first 2 games of Celtics Nets, I could have easily went on Twitter and been like, man, the Nets are getting all these calls. No, they were just calling it both ways, a lot of fouls. Only time you can maybe say that is if Scott Foster is officiating your game.
I mean, in their defense of the Timberwolves, Cat is second in fouls this season. Jaden McDaniels is 8th, which is a random person to be 8th in the league.
Off the bench.
And then Patrick Beverley is 15th in the league.
He just fouled out. No, Cat just be doing some bonehead stuff sometimes, bro. Like, you're too good. You're too good of a player. You're not that
rebound.
You're
that
not
loose ball foul on the rebound.
Bro, like why? Why are you trying to get a rebound that you're not going to grab? Yeah. Just stop. Killing me.
I understand hustle, but IQ is always more important than hustle to me. Especially if you're a star player, IQ is more valuable than hustle.
If you're my best player, I'd rather you give up that rebound than get your third foul in the first half.
Yeah. You got to know when to or when not to take a foul. And sometimes when you're also a star player, you got to know when to or when not to take a business decision and just not absolutely get destroyed on a guy coming through the lane. Those are the types of decisions you have to make as a star, especially in the regular season. It's a bit different in the playoff, not from a foul standpoint, but from a business decision standpoint and not taking a tough shot. But things are just different when you're that star type of guy. You have to approach things a little bit differently where you have to be available for your team on a given night from a foul standpoint and from a health standpoint over the course of a season. So it's things you have to think about as a star when you're that elite type of guy. And Brandon Clark played under 10 minutes last year in the playoffs. So he was completely out of the rotation.
Yeah. Shout out to him, though, for bouncing back, man, because as a young guy, that would be kind of demoralizing, man. Just like –
You talk about Summer League MVP Brandon Clark. He's been a star in the making for a year.
Yeah. I'll mess with some Brandon Clark, though, for sure. This game is game.
Okay. What draft class was he?
2019, 21st overall pick.
So he was the same class as Ja?
Yep. I think he was.
I feel like he was the same class as Ja. I feel like I remember thinking, like, man, the Grizzlies got crazy talent coming in. They're about to have a star rookie duo. And Jaren's in his second year.
We either passed on Brandon Clark or he was picked one pick before our pick. Not sure.
Who did you guys pick that year? Grant Williams?
Yeah, we picked Grant Williams. We actually traded Matisse away for Grant, I think, like an extra pick.
Hey,
yeah,
that's honestly looking like a dub right now.
The Boston pick at pick 20 was officially Matisse.
So we could have had Clark.
And Clark was at 21, which was officially OKC's pick.
I mean, I think they both.
Matisse might be one of, like, the top 3 reasons why Toronto is in the series right
now. I was so happy when he was on the court in Game 5.
Really been like that. Like, I've been watching y'all series, but it's kind of been like with a loose lens. I haven't been like watching as in depth. Has he really just been that terrible?
He's just been that wide open. He's just wide open.
He is being left wide open and not hitting shots. But now it's at the point where the defense is completely not playing him, but we still have enough bodies in the paint that he doesn't feel comfortable to drive because he obviously has no confidence going to the rim. So as soon as he gets it, I forget who it was who got the steal. I think it was Scotty, and I think it was the play where he went behind the back and got the layup in transition, if I'm not mistaken, where Matisse just got the ball in the corner. He was open, and immediately, this guy doesn't even look at the rim. He doesn't consider it. He just immediately turns around and looks to pass it, and Scotty just reads it, and he's gone. Like, there was just no level of comfort, no level of confidence to do anything with the ball. He was just actively hurting that team offensively. It wasn't even that he wasn't shooting. It was just like, oh, shit, I got the ball. I got to get rid of it ASAP. Like, that was
Didn't he,
where
like,
Matisse
airball
was
a
on
layup?
offense.
I'm pretty sure he airballed a layup at some point.
Yeah, I believe he did that as well. I think that whatever half they were attacking the right side of their screen, I can picture that for sure. There's like a finger roll layup that he left short of the rim.
I haven't seen
That
somebody somebody get the Tony Allen treatment since Tony Allen.
I mean, Ben Simmons kind of got that treatment.
They did that to Westbrook in the bubble too. I forgot. Oh, Cat, what are you doing?
Yeah, Westbrook, Ben Simmons. I mean, it's good that Philly only has one player like that now instead of two.
But it's crazy because it's like, just hit, like, all you got to do is hit like one or two, like maybe, just to make it a little respectable.
He hit
if
one
Philly had
via
JJ Reddick out
Achua
there
hitting it in his own basket.
Over.
That is wild, bro.
It's literally over. If JJ Reddick was at shooting guard instead of Matisse Thybulle, the series is over. I'm so serious.
Too bad
JJ probably would have got injured in game 2, to be fair, at this point in time. But if he was staying healthy, then maybe.
Nah. JJ Reddick could be 50 years old and still run them dribble handoffs with Joel.
All right, since we got a game going live right here, this is what I don't understand about head coaches sometimes, bro. Especially with young teams. Call the damn timeout and set up a play. Like even that only works a select few times, bro. Like even when Ime did it, he got away with it. But sometimes I prefer to let a coach call the timeout, set up a play. Especially if you're a really young team like the Timberwolves are. D'Lo just took a dumbass shot. Excuse my language. He just took a very dumb shot, bro. Like, and he airballed. Like, bro, set up a play, bro. You have Karl-Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell. Set up a play. Like, bro,
I mean, we're talking about a series where 21-0 runs are happening without timeouts being called. So those are the types of things that young coaches can really hurt you with in the playoffs. Because like that's not even like high level thinking of playoff coaching, but those are also things that very much matter.
Bro,
dude, I can't believe Memphis is literally about to win this game. They were literally down like 11 like 5 minutes ago. I literally turned the game off.
Chris Finch he's been around though, because he was with y'all, wasn't he? He was with the Raptors. If I'm not mistaken, he was under Nick Nurse.
Yeah, I think he was on. He was like the first coach hired off the Nurse tree.
Like, come on, bro. He been around, man. Like, I'm sure he's been in at least a couple playoff situations as the lead assistant. Like, you got to be smarter than that, bro. Like, what I've realized. My bad.
Hey, quick bet. Who's taking this shot?
What I've realized with playoff coaches, a lot of coaches are scared to like draw up plays and try and stop runs. It's like they have no like skills. Like Steve Nash be doing that. Chris Finch has done that several times in this series. I even see like Monty Williams do it sometimes. It's just like they'll let a run play out where they won't call timeout when they really should, and it backfires big time. Like, bro, and you can't do this. It's okay to do that early on in the series, maybe through the first 4 games. But this is game 5. A game 5 of a 2-2 series is so important. You can't be doing this stuff, bro. It's inexcusable, man. Especially with a young team, man. You got to be better.
All right, but who's taking this last shot for the Timberwolves? Because my bet might be D'Angelo Russell. I think they're gonna give him the ball.
I think it'll be Cad.
Oh, you think it'll be Devin?
I'd probably go D'Lo as well.
Yeah, that was a good play. That was a great play, actually, but still.
Literally words before disaster, bro. I saw Jordan McLaughlin with the ball with 6 seconds left, and I got scared. I got so scared.
I see maybe why he didn't call.
What is happening right now?
I see maybe why he didn't call a timeout though, because they only had 1 left. So I guess it makes sense. But good play.
Bro, I swear, I feel like Desmond Bane is about to shoot this ball, bro.
I feel like it's gonna be Ja going downhill. Live 3-Point Weekly coverage.
If it's Ja, bro, I don't think it's going in. But I might be so wrong.
Oh my God, I got it. Layup.
Nah, that's crazy, bro. You called that. You called that. Star-making performance, man. He literally didn't even play that good. I think he had it tripped up.
He had 30 points.
He picked it up.
He had 30?
He had 39 and 13 boards.
Bruh, he teed
Minus
up at the
22 from the
very
field.
end. I swear he was not doing that the whole game.
He finished with 30. Desmond Bane has 25, and Brandon Clark has 21 off the bench.
Oh my God.
This series is about to
Dylan
be
Brooks shot 3 of 18. But
This series is about to
that
be
three-man carried them.
classic.
And now we go back to Minnesota.
Wow. Okay, Joe, I see you, boy. I see you, man.
Yeah, you better put some respect on that boy's name. T. Morant is talking crazy heat right now to Cat Senior, bro.
As he should be. Did you see they got Usher at the game?
I don't know if I saw that.
Bruh, I'm about to send it to the Twitter chat, bro.
Ja was popping back when Usher wore U chains, bro.
Ja wasn't even alive back then. What? Oh my God. This series is insane, bro. This series is insane. It's going 7 now.
Definitely.
Man. What podcast is giving y'all live coverage like this, man?
What this is really a watch along.
Man, I can't name any podcasts that's giving live game
Ja's
coverage.
dad and Usher. Why they low-key look like brothers? What the heck?
Okay.
They fully do.
Bro, I'm so excited to see Zion with this team next year, the Pelicans. I'm so excited.
I can't wait.
Like,
I have such high expectations, and I keep trying to temper them so I don't get disappointed. But like, man, this team is playing as well as they have without Zion, while they have guys like Herb Jones and Jose Alvarado and Trey Murphy, all as rookies who've had their moments throughout the playoffs. Like, oh, this is gonna be such a fun team.
If
And
this
this is a
team
team
isn't
that didn't
above
have
the
Brandon Ingram to
play-in,
start, that played so poorly to start. Then they add CJ, and they're even better. Like, oh man. The West in general is going to be fun next year, but the Pelicans, I can't wait to watch them next year with Zion.
they got expectations now, man. If they're not at least above the play-in next year with Zion, I think that might be considered a disappointment.
I feel like they would go.
I don't know.
If they get like the
need to be
7th
above the
seed,
play-in.
they get like the 7th seed, I think that's good for them.
Yeah.
If they're the 7th seed because like the Nuggets stay good and the Timberwolves are above them, okay. The only team above them that I imagine having like a natural fall off is like Utah.
Yes. I might be a hater. I'm praying on the Jazz's downfall. I might be a hater though. Might be, but
everybody is, man.
I love how this team looks, man. If Herb gets a consistent 3-ball, it's gonna make him a lot more deadly. I love point CJ. Like I already love CJ's game.
Dame was holding him back, man. Look at what he's doing without Dame. Dame is a toxic player. Nobody wants to play with him. With that being said, the Lakers would use him.
Man, I was just writing up my script last night.
Aiden crazy dime.
You know what's crazy? Jay Crowder's going through this again where, like, he really is not shooting the ball good in the playoffs. But this Suns team is so good, they only need him to hit, like, 1 or 2 shots. Like, that's how they were last year. Like, if Jay Crowder and Mikal Bridges give y'all 3 made threes, you're probably winning that game.
Yeah, that's crazy, but it's the way it's been.
Yeah, but with Book out, he got to be better. Mikal got to step it up a little bit. And Chris Paul can't put up a stinker again.
DeAndre Ayton just got to keep playing like a number 1 pick, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
It sucks. He's always going to have that label because I don't think he's ever going to reach he's not going to reach like Luka and Trey levels. But he's a damn good player still.
He can be
Yeah, he
like that
definitely is.
Hakeem, where it's like I'm not saying he can be as good as Hakeem, but I'm saying he can be like respectable. Like you can see, like okay, I don't think the Suns are mad that they took him where they took him. Like how the Rockets aren't mad that they passed up on Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I know
definitely.
the Trailblazers got to be mad that they passed up on Michael Jordan, but
Yeah, and like I feel that DeAndre Ayton has a lot more than we've seen so far. He's shown it like sparing times, especially now with Devin Booker out. But like once Chris Paul isn't on this team, there's obviously going to be a large gap of production that has to be filled, and I think then we'll get to see to a bit more production from DeAndre Ayton and see how special he truly can be. Because like he's not a vocal part of this offense at most times. But once he can start getting 15, 17 shots a night, he starts to show how good of a mid-range game he has more often because his mid-range efficiency is absolutely disgusting. His defense continues to improve. Like there's a world where I can see DeAndre Ayton having multiple All-Star appearances for sure. I don't think he becomes some superstar, but I think he can have a couple of All-Star appearances behind his belt while Phoenix continue to be one of the best teams in the West.
Yeah, I could see him being like a 22, 23, and like 12 type of guy. Like I could see that being like his peak, but him doing that like year after year, after like Chris Paul's gone and stuff. He's he's so talented, bro. He's so talented. When he's locked in, like nobody can really mess with him. Like to be honest, like nobody can mess with him. He was going at Jokic last year like it was nothing. Like when he's really locked in, he's great on both sides of the floor when he's like playing at his peak. So hopefully he reaches that just for the sake of people not always being like, oh, he was the first pick in the draft that had Luka Doncic and Trae Young, just for that aspect.
he's just somewhere in the mid range. Like he's not going to be looked at as negatively as like Bennett or like Markelle or even like Wiggins, but he's not going to be as highly touted as like Kyrie or like Anthony Davis or like Cat. I guess he might end up at a similar range to how Cat is viewed. Cat is better, but I think just because Aiden will rack up more playoff success just because of his situation, I think that people will like view them on like the bust to superstar level similarly, if that makes sense.
That's fair. That's very fair.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And although Cats might end up being better offensively, Ayton is the significantly better defender. So
Man, because he ain't making these boneheaded fouls, man. Oh my god.
Did y'all? I know y'all saw Zach LaVine got COVID again. I swear, this dude has had COVID like 3 or 4 times.
That's what Kenny said, bro. That's what Kenny said.
Because I thought I was tripping, but I feel like he's really had COVID like 3 times or something like that, bro. And that's a lot in like a year span.
Definitely feels like
bro,
a lot.
I hope he's okay, bro. There's it's really good that he's like a super athlete because, bro, 3 times. Yeah. Any average person gets that 3 times. Bro, I don't care what kind of shots you got or anything. That you're getting at least somewhat messed up, bro.
You're done. Like you might be like on a fucking ventilator for like the next like 5 years, bro. No matter what your age is, you get that shit 3 times in 1 year. I think I've had it once that I actually know of. I might have had it more than once, but like once that I actually like got tested and was positive. And even then, I was still feeling messed up for like long periods of time afterwards. So I can only imagine having that thing like 3 or 4 times within a year span. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Hey, yeah, if Zach LaVine didn't get COVID and Lonzo Ball was playing, they would have beat the Bucks in 6.
I was gonna give him 7. I am interested to see though how long Chris Middleton is out. That's gonna be he's gonna be key for that next series, man. It's gonna be key.
They need him come playoff time for sure.
I think what the Celtics have shown is like you gotta have some elite level just shot making like on all facets of the floor, man, to be able to like contend with that high level defense.
Yeah, I mean this with the utmost respect, bro. Boston in 6. Even with Middleton healthy, he just puts up random stinkers. Just the most random stinkers, and then it's like I know Drew can pop off occasionally, but against this Celtics team, I don't know if Drew can pop off occasionally.
thing about Drew, he's gonna have to like really work on defense because in my eyes, I think he should get the Tatum assignment for majority of the series, at least when it matters the most. So he's gonna be gassed, and we saw that last year. Like, yeah, he's a hell of a defender, but when he's working like that, he's gonna be completely nothing on offense, bro. More likely than not, because he's gonna be so
And I
gassed.
don't know if he can afford that. Like they really might need his offense if Chris is not going to be Chris or not there at all.
Which is tough because they don't got a PJ Tucker this year to really take that pressure off of them.
No, they don't. So yeah, that is going to be interesting to see because you talk about the defensive implications with Drew, and then if you're talking about a closer down the stretch of game for the Bucks, sure, Giannis does it at times, but if you need that perimeter bucket, Chris Middleton's usually that guy. He's done it for them last year, so it'll definitely be interesting to see how that plays in. Hopefully, he's available, but and there's been way too many injuries this playoffs. These boys need a break. We need a shorter season. I don't know. It's like we get to these playoffs and then we get excited and then stars get injured and it's just really unfortunate.
Just
The
crazy.
thing is, people are in and out throughout the season too. So it's like I don't know if you just need like a longer All-Star break or like some sort of like a break before like how like I was gonna say like the NFL, but the NFL's break is only before like the Super Bowl because they do the Pro Bowl. But like some sort of break late, I know it can kind of like kill a little bit of momentum, but like on the grand scale, this is the most important time for people to be healthy.
Not facts.
And it just never happens really.
And it's weird because this is a season where more players played in the NBA more than any season ever. And like everybody missed time for real for the most part. So it's like the fact we're still seeing a lot of injuries is just kind of wild. You know, it's crazy, man. Especially like the big names going down, like the Devin Bookers, the Chris Middletons, and guys like that just missing time. It's just so unfortunate, bro. Joel Embiid getting hurt. It's like, dang. It's always something. Jimmy Butler missing the game tonight. Shout out to the Heat for moving on, though. But it's like, man, seeing all these guys missing time, bro. It's just taken away from well, it's been a good playoffs, but it's taken away from what could make it even better for sure. And like you said, Devin, like they're going to need Middleton, bro. They're going to really need him because, dude, he closed out Game 7 last year against the Nets. He closed out multiple finals games. Even as amazing as Giannis was, Chris Middleton was closing out a lot of those finals games with just tough shot making. That's one thing about him. He takes a lot of tough shots, but he hits them and he hits the time he wants. One where it's like a 2-point game down the stretch, and he makes it a 5-point game. Like he just hits big time shots, and he's as clutch as they come. I think he's kind of underrated in that aspect. Like he's a hell of a closer, especially in playoff situations. They're gonna need him, man, and they're gonna need all the bodies available because you can't. You know, I'm sorry, you just can't expect like Grayson Allen to really be as effective in this next series. I just don't expect that. You know, because the Celtics are just a better team than the Bulls. They're going to expose his deficiencies. You can't really get away with Wesley Matthews, you know, guarding Tatum or Brown. Like, the Bucks are going to have their work cut out, man. I'm interested to see, you know, how Giannis responds. Also want to see how the Celtics guard him. I think that's going to be a nice, like, chess match. It's going to be an exciting series. I think this one's going to live up to the hype for sure. I think so.
Hey, I would keep Grayson Allen as far away from Jason Tatum as possible.
Bro.
And I don't think I need to explain why.
Tatum and Brown, bro, they're gonna headhunt him for sure. Like if he's on anytime he's on the floor, bro, they're gonna have to hide him. They're gonna have to like maybe spot him with like Peyton Pritchard minutes or something, bro, or Grant Williams minutes, man, because he's gonna get exposed in that series, bro. And you're not gonna be able to get away with it like the Bulls because the Bulls are just such an incompetent defensive team with all the guys they had missing. Well, Lonzo Ball being out, but yeah.
No, I just mean in the fact like the Celtics should keep Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown away from Grayson because that boy.
You think he would
I'm
do
not
that?
taking.
They were teammates. At Duke, man. you ain't putting nothing past Grayson. That's crazy.
I'm not putting nothing past Grayson, bro. At this point, maybe JT is safe, but bro, JB, Marcus.
Oh man. Don't
Time Lord, fresh off an injury.
Don't speak that into existence, man. If you got some like real wood,
that's what I'm saying. Keep them away from Grayson.
Nah, but no, this is gonna be a heck of a series, though. I'm excited for it, man. The matchups just on paper, obviously Middleton being out like hurts it, but I'm sure he'll be back at some point. But on paper, the matchups are very, very compelling. excited.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It should pan out in general to be a relatively competitive second round of the playoffs. I mean, remains to be seen what happens with the Toronto Philly series with who Miami is going to match up with. But I think whatever we get out of Pelicans Suns against what will likely be Dallas should be fun. I think either team can be competitive there and make that a fun series. And then if we're watching Memphis, Minnesota, either of those teams against Golden State, as inexperienced as they are, that might make that a little bit more of a challenge. I don't know how competitive that'll be unless they can flick the switch and have this first round series be a learning curve for them. But we should at least have two series that I would expect will be really competitive. The other two remains to be seen, but I think it should still be a fairly decent round of playoff basketball.
I just want to ask y'all one more question, though.
Okay, I got one too.
I got one big question left for y'all. And I don't want to, not even thinking about his team, not thinking about the people around him, but just this one player in general. Are y'all missing LeBron in the postseason?
No.
Yes and no. Yes and no. I do love watching playoff Bron, but his team's ass.
That's what I mean. Outside of the context of his team, do you miss seeing LeBron James play in the postseason?
Yeah. If it was multiple, if he misses again next year, I might feel differently. But I'll be honest, I'm enjoying watching the playoffs and being okay, Brandon Ingram's showing he's legit, and Jason Tatum's showing he's one of the best players in the world right now. And DeAndre Hunter tonight drops 35 points and is won't be, but should be one of the most talked about guys on the night in terms of a top end performance. And it's not just a LeBron led narrative. I like watching LeBron, but sometimes that can impact how everything else gets talked about, which does end up influencing some of the experience as well. So if we see him miss out again next year, I probably feel a little bit differently. Then we're 2 years without it. And then we don't really know if LeBron's back at his peak or near his peak anytime soon. But I'm okay with having a year just without any LeBron narrative.
I mean, look, the 2019 playoffs was one of the best probably in recent memories. It was a pretty good playoff experience. Last year, I mean, they got eliminated in the first round, but last year I think it was a good playoffs. And so far, this one's, I would say, living up to some of the hype. It's been very entertaining. I love me some LeBron for sure, but, the league's in good hands. We have a lot of good young faces, in the league right now. The league is in great hands. We still have the best player in the world playing basketball, Giannis. The league is still in good hands, bro. So, I would definitely love to see LeBron because I want to see as much of him as I can before he retires, obviously. But, he's going to get talked about regardless if he's playing or not. People are still going to find a way to bring up LeBron. So that's not going to change. But to answer your question, it's a yes and no. I do miss him playing playoff basketball, but at the same time, it's not I'm watching these games. It's damn, I wish Braun was out here right now. I'm not really thinking that in that aspect.
I think my thing now is I would be perfectly fine. I would honestly like to see him play in the playoffs now, but I think that the last few years of playoffs have been significantly better than say 2010 to we'll say 17, because 18 was pretty dang dope. But we'll say when he went to Miami to 2017, bro, who cares about the Eastern Conference? Basically, even if you take off the beginning, from the time the Big Three Celtics dissipated to Kyrie leaving LeBron, just phone it in. It's literally just LeBron's winning the conference. GG, it's over. And now it's back to a point where you actually care about who's going to win both conferences because there's actually a competition that's I got to watch this game to see who's going to win. If Boston and Milwaukee play in the second round, I don't know who's coming out of that. And then if they go on to face Miami's pretty decent. And so it's I don't know who's gonna go. Whereas before, I wouldn't even feel compelled to watch because I just know LeBron's team is gonna win.
Nah, facts. That kind of transitions into my question. I was gonna ask y'all like, who do y'all think are the favorites right now to like make it to the finals? Because like Gabe said, it's like it's still kind of unpredictable in that aspect. Like we don't know when Book's gonna be back and if he's gonna be back in time. The Warriors look pretty damn dominant right now. But are they invincible? We don't know. Celtics, Bucks, they're both playing each other in the second round, and we talk about them like they're the odds-on favorites in the Eastern Conference. But then Miami's looking good too. So like, if y'all had to put money on it, who would be the two teams that y'all would say are meeting in the NBA Finals?
I guess
two picks right now. You go ahead, Gabe.
Okay. My pick to win the Eastern Conference as of right now is Boston, because Milwaukee's literally about to close their series, which means that one's going to start on the earlier side of things since both series will be done. And that means no Middleton. And so I think if Boston gets through them, I trust Boston to beat Miami. I know they matched up in the conference finals like 2 years ago, and Miami won. But I think that this Boston team, I think it's time. This team has been in the conference finals like a bazillion times, and what I'll call the Brad Stevens era, because he's still a part of the franchise. He's not the coach, but he's there. So what I'll call the Brad Stevens era, they're literally in the conference finals like every year or every other year. It's time. It's time for them to go to the finals and just take that next step. Will they win it? I don't know, but I just feel like it's happening. And then in the West, Golden State, I got to go with Golden State because I think that they look really good right now. They're going to be getting either Memphis or Minnesota off of a very hard-fought matchup, and Golden State will come in very well rested. And while teams can kind of be caught off guard if they've been like not playing for a little bit, Golden State went to the finals 5 years in a row. Or I think it was 5 years, either 4 or 5 years in a row. But they're prepared for that kind of thing. So either way, in the second round, they're facing a super young team. So they're probably going to get out of that. And then we don't know about Devin Booker's health. So then that's what puts them a little bit above the Suns, because these teams started the season very similar to each other. Golden State had a little bit more injury problems, and so that kind of set them back. So now back on an even playing field, if you say Golden State's as good as they were to start the season, Devin Booker's out, and that gives Golden State the edge for me. And then who would I say would be the favorite between Boston and Golden State? I would go Golden State just because that core has won 3 titles together.
Two with KD.
Golden State got Jordan Poole advantage as well.
But they got Jordan Poole.
I'm not mad at that, sure. I feel like a lot of people are probably super high on the Celtics right now.
I think Jordan Poole is better than KD, man. What do you mean?
Yeah,
this is better than the KD Warriors.
I'd probably echo some pretty similar sentiments here as well. Like, injuries, unfortunately, kind of sway these, and that's what would have me lean towards the Celtics and the Warriors more so than I would have otherwise. I just don't know when Booker's going to be back for sure, and that could impact things. And I don't know when Middleton's going to be back for sure, and that could impact things. And so the Warriors have been playing great. This is the first time we've seen them healthy all year. And so you could say, oh, the Suns were better in the regular season, which is very true, and they're still very good. We don't know for sure that Booker will be around in 100%, but we do know right now that Golden State are healthy and are looking like one of the most dangerous, if not the most dangerous team in basketball for the first time, while having all of their best players available for the first time. And same goes for what I think will likely decide who gets out of the East between Boston and Milwaukee. Not that I think Miami doesn't have a chance, but I do think that is likely the toughest and the top 2 teams in the Eastern Conference facing off in the second round. And we just don't know what the availability of Chris Middleton is. If Chris Middleton's available, 100% ready to go, I probably lean the way of Milwaukee. But odds are, given the nature of what we've heard or not heard about the injury and the fact that pretty much no one returns from an injury in the playoffs 100%, we're probably not going to get an 100% Chris Middleton. And the way Boston are playing right now, I think the Bucks need an 100% Chris Middleton for them to win. So I think Boston's probably the way I end up leaning. After that, man, I probably lean the way of experience in Golden State. But if any team's going to have a defensive scheme that's going to slow down this Golden State offense, then it's going to be Boston. So I would probably pick Golden State, but it's going to be a fun series. I think Celtics Bucks is going to be fun. I think figuring out who gets out of the West is going to be fun between the Warriors and potentially the Suns. I'm not counting out Dallas of getting out of that conference either. I think they still have a shot with Luka back. The fact that we can still look at this and see, yeah, there's like 5 teams, potentially 6 if you're me and you're really high on Dallas, that could legitimately get to an NBA final. That's pretty fun. We haven't had that in a while. So I'm very happy with where we're at for parity right now. The fact that we can look at this and pick out that many teams that can have a legit case to get to the NBA finals is a very good thing.
Yeah, the irony that we're talking about this parity, we still both picked the Golden State Warriors to win the title.
I probably echo that.
It's not obvious, though. It's not obvious, though.
I probably got the same thoughts as y'all, except if it comes to the finals, of course I'm taking the Celtics. But as of everything slated right now with injuries being taken into consideration, that would be the way I would lean. Only thing I'm worried about more so on the Eastern Conference side, and this reminds me a lot of the bubble, when our 2 teams played against each other and it was a fucking bloodbath. And it went down to the final few possessions of Game 7 and it was a crazy finish. I'm worried like the fatigue from this potential Bucks-Celtics matchup could carry on into the conference finals. And the Heat having home court advantage, I think, could be kind of key too. Because we saw in the bubble, like the Celtics won that series against Toronto and then went into those first couple of games and they were gassed. Like everybody was gassed those first 2 games. I'm afraid that same thing might still happen. And I think the Heat are solid enough of a team to where they will take advantage of that. So that's the only thing I'm a little worried about. But I think both the Bucks and the Celtics, given they're healthy, are just better basketball teams than the Heat. So that might not play that much of a factor. And maybe there will be a few more days of rest compared to the bubbles. I feel like everything in the bubbles is a little condensed. So maybe that's a factor. But I would probably lean the same way. Celtics, Warriors in the finals. This is the finals that we deserved in 2018. I'll say that, man. We deserved this finals in 2018 over the Cavs Warriors trilogy, or was that 4 straight, 5 straight? I don't know. They played each other so many times.
That was the 4th straight because that was the second KD year. I'm kind of glad that they didn't make it that year though, because just like for how much slander they give people for finals records, not going to name any names. just for the legend of Jason Tatum that can continue to grow, him not starting off with a nice little 0-1, it's probably a long-term good thing because he got like the legend of like, oh, I was 1 game away from the finals and dunked on LeBron, but then he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that losing finals record that people love to bring up.
I don't really hold that against anybody losing to the Kevin Durant Warriors because, bro, to be honest, that team was borderline unbeatable. Like, you had to play picture-perfect basketball to have a chance. And even when the Rockets did that, Chris Paul ended up blowing his hamstring out. So, like, he was overextending himself just to have a chance to win that series. And
that's really the thing is that they could have – like, they literally were not unbeatable.
They weren't, but it's like teams had to go all out to have a chance. And they burned out by the end, bro, because that team was just too talented, too good. And even, like, they lost 1 finals game before the Raptors beat them, obviously, because they kind of broke down. But the one
that was just because they imploded.
Yeah, and the 1 finals game they did lose before that, the Cavs had, like, probably the most historic playoff game ever offensively. They scored, like, 50 first-quarter points.
Dude, that game was crazy. That was, like, the definition of everything is clicking.
Real talk. So it's like, we're gonna look back at that Warriors team, that little 3-year run that they went on, and be like, man, that was probably one of the most just dominant teams ever. Like, I feel like we might have taken that team a little bit for granted, given everything that, ended up happening at the end.
Yeah, I can agree with that for sure. I think there's a lot of people that just saw the team, didn't like the Kevin Durant move, hated the team.
Yeah.
And then we'll look back in 20 years and it was like, I didn't appreciate that at all. I just hated on it. And now I missed out on what could potentially be one of the greatest basketball teams of all time.
I feel that way about the Heatles. I feel the same way about them. Like, I just despise them. Even though I love D-Wade, he was one of my favorite players. I just hated that team so much. And looking back on it, I'm like, man, that was some of the best basketball that I've ever witnessed. And I just couldn't enjoy it at the time because I was a hater.
Hey, maybe people will be more positive right now just because I feel like the most two hated teams in the league were probably like Brooklyn and the Lakers, and they're both out. One didn't make the playoffs, and one was the first team out of the playoffs. So now it's like the final 15 teams left playing this season. I don't think any of them are really that despised. Not that I can think of.
I think people
Maybe Utah.
Philly and Utah.
I feel like the Celtics are hated too, just because it's the Celtics. My personal opinion, and I see.
I feel like the only Celtics hate is just because like the Laker fan base is so big.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And then also maybe like Philly and Toronto fans might have a little beef there too.
Our fan base is so annoying though, so I can see why y'all might be irritated with us for real. Because our fan base is so annoying, and we have the worst commentators of basketball.
I'm just ready for you guys to get over the hump. If you guys are going to keep making the conference finals every single year, you got to win it at least once.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like the Celtics have the makings to win it all this year. So, like, my personal opinion, I feel like not making the finals would be somewhat of a disappointment. Just the way that they've been playing.
Which is crazy because you guys were below 500 at Christmas.
Yeah, but they've been playing so good like that. They figured it out. So it's like, and they have the makings. This year's pretty wide open, I would say, even though the Suns have been dominant most of the year. But, I mean, they're injured right now, so you might not see them like that. So they have the makings to be a championship team. I was just talking with my dad about that last night. Like, they have everything it takes. It's just a matter of, like you said, Gabe, getting over that hump and, you know, just finally getting past that conference finals and, you know, having a chance to win the championship.
Hey, if they keep getting this Oklahoma State Marcus Smart, Marcus Smart's going to lead Beantown to some great things.
Man, I just seen something. He played better than Trae Young in the first round, like all statistics, even points and assists. It's crazy. Trae Young was kind of disappointed me, man, but he was going up against probably his biggest, like, kryptonite is a bunch of elite wing defenders.
Yeah, he pretty much saw why Luka couldn't beat the Clippers.
Yeah, and even Luka was frying the Clippers. It's just like he didn't have Spencer Dinwiddie and Jalen Brunson going crazy with him.
Yeah, exactly.
But
yeah,
I think we made up for not uploading in 2 weeks, man. It's going to be like a 2-hour episode, so people – if they get to this point, they should have enjoyed a lot of good basketball talk. We got some live coverage in. We even talked about the Hornets for 5 minutes.
Yes, sir.
More Jazz slander. Like, yeah. You get it all on 3 Point Weekly, man, for sure.
You get it all, bro. Like, the Phoenix is kind of giving it to New Orleans right now. It's just CJ. CJ is single-handedly keeping them in the game.
I don't know how much.
And it's been like 16 minutes of play.
I feel like this might get ugly. I ain't gonna lie. It might get ugly.
Yeah, it could at home. Definitely could.
Yeah, we'll see though. We'll see.
Yes, Suns in 6. That might age poorly, but Suns in 6. I'll just say it now. We get back on here, and that didn't happen. And New Orleans took it in a convincing 6. That's one thing, but I'm just gonna leave it with that.
Say less, man. Celtics and foe. My last words for the week, man. Celtics and foe.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to let us know your thoughts down in the comments on any series predictions you have and your thoughts so far on the playoffs as a whole. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more NBA playoff content over the next few weeks. We appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.